Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to eNASCAR Saturday Night Thunder from the virtual Dover International Speedway. We're happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us tonight on the iRacing Sports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. We're alongside Justin Prince and Tim Terry. My name is Evan Pasoko. Tim, we just saw a barn burner of a race here Tuesday night in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, but now it's time for the real world stars to take them for a spin. This is the start of your virtual NASCAR race weekend.
Yeah, it was a very intriguing race that we saw here on Tuesday at the Monster Mile at Dover, and now we get to see the Saturday Night Thunder boys and girls get at it for their 125-lap feature. Got some heat races and all that nice stuff to transfer them in, but it's going to be an exciting night. Can't wait to see how this one all fares out. And Evan, we go from Talladega Super Speedway all the way down here to Dover, two unique racetracks.
Yeah, and this is the virtual recreation, Justin, of the Monster Mile. This one-mile racetrack located in Dover, Delaware, plays host to NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series action, and has since 1969. But it's so well known, though, for the concrete surface that replaced the original asphalt in 1995. It'll be that, coupled with the 24 degrees of banking, that'll make for a rough ride around this place, and it makes this racetrack so fun.
Absolutely. It is a very technical racetrack for these drivers and a line-sensitive track where if you miss your mark by just a little bit, you could be in the wall on corner exit. Not only that, you're on the edge of control because of the high-paced speeds, and it's a very physical track because of how quick it is. These cars will bounce and bang their way on this racetrack tonight at blistering speeds.
And of course, we are going to go heat racing tonight as there's nearly 50 different drivers attempting to qualify into a main field that will only allow 26 drivers to make the show. Tim, right now they're ready to practice, but it'll all start with single car qualifying. That will set up the field for 4 different 10-lap heat races, in which we will take the top 6 cars. Everybody who does not advance from that point going to be sent into 2 LCQs, 15 laps apiece, where only the race winner moves on. But the big change tonight is when we go racing for that 125-lap feature is the quick repairs that have been a lifeline for many of these drivers in the opening 3 weeks, not available tonight.
It's like these real drivers have their real race cars with them, Evan. You have to keep them clean, take care of those race cars, and get them to that 125-lap distance to see that checkered flag. Qualifying similar to what we've seen these last couple of rounds with these Xfinity Series Class B race cars. You have to make sure you get through those heat races, get yourself a good qualifying position when we get this two-lap qualifying going in just a moment, and then set yourself up for that long run a little bit later on. I'm a short track guy. I love heat races. I love these LCQs. Can't wait to see who gets the first couple of checkered flags here and sets himself up for the feature.
And let's talk more about these cars, Justin. iRacing is the leader in sim racing, utilizing laser-scanned cars and tracks down to millimeter accuracy to simulate real-world racing. There's more than 70 different race cars that iRacing members can drive. If you at home want to go sim racing today, you can go to iRacing.com for more info. But tonight, again, using those NASCAR Xfinity Series cars, so Camaros, Supras, and Mustangs on track. And these are the real-world stars of some of NASCAR's top series. Many of them familiar with these Xfinity Series machines as we race in this car for a 3rd straight week. These drivers racing from their homes and shops alike as they get set to return to the real track here in just a few weeks.
Yeah, and for many of these drivers tonight, when it comes to racing this car here, there is the balance of trying to make sure you don't carry too much speed and end up either plowing into the outside wall or spinning off a turn 4, especially because of how tricky and technical each end of the racetrack is and how different you take this circuit here at Dover. Keep in mind as well, many of these drivers have had tons of preparation throughout the week, some as much as 2,000 laps for this race tonight.
Hours and hours of practice, and now is your first opportunity to put that into motion. Cars on track now for single car qualifying. Now, let's talk about tonight's iRacing keys to the race. And it is going to be a balance of being aggressive in the heats early and maybe a bit patient in the feature later on. And my key is that there's no rest for the wicked. In a 10-lap heat race with no yellows, you have to be up and on the wheel all night long. And because of the way that Dover races with that high 9 degrees of banking on the straights, even though, of course, compared to the 24 in the quarters, it's not a lot. Most tracks don't see that much banking. When you have to wrestle this thing off quarter exit, Tim, the drivers really don't have much of an opportunity to reset on those straightaways to take a deep breath. So it is going to be non-stop action in those LCQs right off the bat.
And as you see the double deuce of Austin Cindric on the racetrack getting his time, Mike, he's kind of twofold. Don't get too tired. We saw in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race on Tuesday, Garrett Lowe, Ryan Luza pushing up out of these corners and getting the wall and essentially taking their way a chance to win the race. So you not only have to race this racetrack, you have to make sure that you get around here and keep your car clean. We mentioned no resets. Race the racetrack and make sure you are there at the end of the race. And Justin, I know your key is similar, but it's about keeping the race car and what's underneath this race car clean for 125 laps.
Absolutely, because with the tires, Miles the Monster finds them very delicious here. Tire wear has been a talking point in all types of cars at Dover this week on the iRacing service. From the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series even to tonight, many drivers emphasize the importance of saving tires to make sure they don't get too tight or get tire blowouts by the end of a long run here. So it'll be very crucial to keep your tires as calm and cool as possible and don't overburn them in the short runs.
And of course, we saw that Tuesday night as well. Qualifying still underway. You can see Josh Berry currently top of the board. And we've seen Tim now over the last couple of weeks of this Saturday Night Thunder series. We've kind of learned the drivers who are going to be good. The likes of Josh Berry, Landon Huffman, your last two winners at Richmond and Talladega, respectively. They were both top 5 in today's final practice session. And Justin mentioned all the practice they've been putting in. They do not have the ability, unlike they would in the real world, to modify the car to their liking because we are running a fixed setup in this series. So all the cars are exactly the same to one another, and they are all running with the same setup. So everybody right now tonight on totally equal equipment.
Absolutely they are. They have the same thing that's in the car next to them when they line up and get ready to go green. As you see, the final couple of drivers making their qualifying laps, that time is ticking away. And you look at the top two short track guys, Josh Berry and Donnie Leah, currently your top 2 in qualifying and identical 22.869 laps. So pretty solid up there for the NASCAR Roots and NASCAR Home Tracks guys.
Yeah, dead heat in the battle for the top spot as well. Some drivers not completing a valid lap into qualifying, either hitting the wall or crashing. Their lap counts do not count. So some drivers going to be at the back of their LCQ starting orders. But let's take a look now at your starting grid for heat race number 1. And it is Josh Berry, who is credited with pole, who will bring us to the green flag alongside ARCA Menard Series counterpart Chase Cabry in second. Stephen Light going to roll from the number 3rd spot. He'll be joined by Cup Series entry, the 3 of Drew Herring, along with Ruben Garcia in P5 and Josh Balicki, Justin, through the top 6.
Jeb Burton starts in 7 tonight with Sam Mayer in P number 8. Rounding out the top 10, Sheldon Krieg with a good qualifying time, and CJ McLaughlin rounding out the top 12 starters tonight, and 12 drivers in this heat, I should say, Harrison Burton and Brenton Brown.
And always fun when you could get the heat race heat mixed in, Tim. But again, tonight with nearly 50 drivers attempting to qualify and only 26 making the show, nearly half of the hopefuls tonight not going to be competing in that 125-lap main event, and only half the drivers in this 12-car heat race number 1 going to get that ticket right on through to the big show. But, I mean, those are 2 big, powerful names on the front there with Barry and Cabry.
We've seen them really quick here the last couple of weeks on this eNASCAR Saturday Night Thunder, and they've been doing a lot of racing outside of the Saturday Night Thunder division as well, racing on the service throughout the weekend. I'm sure that they have a few laps on this Class B fixed setup that they've had, and the service has been running here as well. So I'm sure they have some laps on the Monster Mile, but they're really going to put it to the test now as they get ready to roll off with this first heat race. You see the weather on your screen, 69 degrees wind speed. It's a little windy here, 11 miles an hour, and the track temp is 85 degrees, and that may fluctuate throughout the afternoon as we get ready to see these cars roll off for the first of 4 heat races. And Evan, you mentioned it. Half of them are going on, half of them are going to an LCQ. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, big things to watch, of course, is the battle for the win in this heat race to fight over track position. The top 10 for that feature race, by the way, will be inverted. But not only is there, of course, the battle for the win in the heat, that main battle going to be position 6 and 7. Who is in and who is going to have to deal with one of 2 winner-take-all LCQs. So we pass to the back straightaway again. Dover International Speedway, 1 mile in length with 24 degrees of banking. It'll be 10 laps each for the heat races, 15 for the LCQs, and 125 when we get to the feature a little bit later on this evening. The base car is going to dive down it in this time, and it'll leave the field in the hands of the number 88 machine and then iRacing Chevy of Josh Berry. As always, happy that you're spending your Saturday night with us for eNASCAR Saturday Night Thunder, the iRacing Sports Network. Berry, Cabry, the front row, with 10 other cars lined up behind them, vying for the first 6 transfer spots into the main event. Pace car down it in. They're going to have to wait on the flag to go green as they pace at 45 miles an hour at a turn number 4. Green flag flies. Let's go racing for heat race number 1.
Beautiful start for Josh Berry to get himself quickly to the bottom side. And as talked about throughout the week, if you don't get yourself to the bottom as quick as possible, you have track position you can potentially lose very quickly in boat loads.
And the battle is going to be for third as your top 2 get some space. It's Stephen Light on the bottom trying to hold off that 3 a Herring. He does so, and into the outside wall right there. A big hit for Josh Balicki. Tim talked about avoiding that kind of contact. That's what basically ended the night for some of our Coke Series drivers on Tuesdays. He's into the outside wall again. A disastrous start for the 99 as he'll drop all the way to the back.
And he's along for the ride right now. Evan pretty much has to get what he can and, try to get a good starting spot for that last chance qualifier, because he now has a lot of cars to pass to get into the show. The 8 car Jeb Burton just made the move. You see the 27 of Garcia on your screen, the 3 of Drew Herring. They're battling for position number 4 down the back straight.
And you can see your top 5 have a little bit of a buffer over everybody else on the back. Sam Mayer right now in the transfer spot, or he was, but Jeb Burton just passed him up. Now Burton catches the wall at turn number 4, so Mayer closes the gap back in, maybe just a tad. Of course, Garcia, the car ahead of them, the 27 car you're looking at running in P5, trying to chase down Herring. Those top 5 cars comfortable. Let's go on the board with Sam Mayer. He needs that spot in front of him back. Jeb Burton took it. Has to go this time by to take it back.
I was talking a bit with Bailey Curry today about how this car feels for these drivers tonight. Mentioned it's tight on center and on exit. As long as you keep it on the wall and manage your tires, the better you do. But at the same time, in practice, where it was hotter conditions, mind you, Evan, he had conditions where it was very loose. Right now, Mayer with the extra grip, really trying to make sure he doesn't overcook the tires here on the short run.
And you heard it as we were on board with him that last time at a turn 2. He had to get way out of the throttle, so that allowed Jeb Burton to kind of pull away just a little bit in that number 6 position. Not much going on as well through your top 5. You can see as they're pretty spaced out. This is the back half of the field. That's Harrison Burton in the number 20 Dex Ibajit entry. He's running in 9th. Josh Balicki into the fence again behind him. And an issue early in this one was CJ McLaughlin, as he drops back and out of this race. So some issues for the cars in the back, but up front it has been clean and green as Josh Berry's leaving Chase Cabry in the hands of Stephen Light to he had a few more laps left in this. Could probably put up a real challenge for P2. Let's see what the 25 cars got.
25 cars had some speed here this week through practice and currently running in position number 3. Looks like he's comfortable, but they're all comfortable behind the iRacing All Things Automotive number 88 of Josh Berry as he dives down to the corner. You look back from Cabry, you see that transfer position a couple of battles back. It's the 8 of Jeb Burton and Sam Mayer, and it's manageable right now for the 8. And speaking about manageable, you got to keep it off the wall if you want to maintain a transfer position. We're coming down this time. Evan, next time across the stretch, we'll see the 1 to go.
You talk about managing those mistakes. The drivers who started 1 through 5 stay in that top 5 order. Then the driver who's gone from the outside to in is that man right there, Jeb Burton, who's going to take the white flag and try to maintain his couple of car lengths advantage over Bayer. Took the spot away from Balicki, who we saw in the 99, had those couple of mistakes back in traffic. Light, though, not going to be able to get it up to Cabri for second. And Josh Berry is clear way out in front. Best in qualifying, and he's best in Heat Race 1. Josh Berry moving to the feature.
And it shouldn't be a surprise how strong a performance we've seen from Berry in this heat already tonight. But give credit to Cabri for Light, for Herring, for Garcia, and Burton to get themselves into the top 6 to advance. Everybody else will have to go through the consolation races.
Yeah, Sam Mayer unable to make that jump. So Mayer, Creed, continuing on down with those other drivers. Harrison Burton and Josh Balicki not go to advance. And then along with CJ McLaughlin and Brandon Brown, who did not start that one. Those drivers going to be dependent on an LCQ. Either one of them, both 15 laps. Only the winner going to advance from that point. Let's get set, though. We're re-racking them and stacking them for the starting grid of Heat Race 2. So Donnie Leah, who matched the lap time at Josh Berry, gets put in Heat Race 2. He'll be started alongside the 33 of Anthony Alfredo. Row 2 sees Kyle Weatherman and Rafael Lassard in P4 with Will Rogers and Scott Stenzel doubling up. That is going to be row 3.
Some drivers here have some work to do. Evan, you got Austin Cindric, Ryan Ellis, row 4. Chase Briscoe has some work to do from the inside of row 5. Tommy Joe Martins to the outside. And how about row number 6? Elliott Sadler and Justin Allgaier have to do some work and do some work fairly quickly in order to get into the top half of this field. Cars are fired on pit road, and we are getting ready to roll off with Donnie Leah on the pole.
Yeah, funny to see all those Xfinity Series drivers who, of course, have done many laps in these cars at this track over the years in the back half of your starting grid. And super impressive, Justin, for Donnie Leah to be up in front for this one. Let's see what the 07 Toyota's got when it comes to race pace.
When I seen the first time on the racetrack in the Saturday Night Thunder entry list, my thoughts went back to about 2018, 2019, where he ran a lot of iRacing races. He was very quick in the Xfinity car on the iRacing service at that time. This has been the strongest qualifying effort, showed some good pace at Talladega. I think we're about to see some good pace from Donnie Leah here as long as he makes no mistakes here on the start.
Of course, a Truck Series winner and a multi-time modified champion in Donnie Leah. He's going to be in control for this one. Let's see how well pole position pays. Pace car off it in. Let's wait for the 07 to take the American Ethanol green flag. A slow roll at a turn 4. Now he goes. We're underway for Heat Race 2. Easily clear for second to be Alfredo. Watch the fight for third. Outside line. Give it to top. That is Rafael Lassard in the 4.
Kyle Weatherman falls into line behind that number 4. Maybe cut each other a break. They're already in a transfer position. Find a spot to ride as Rogers on the back bumper. Weatherman going down into the corner. And there's that 98 car, Briscoe, already making moves side by side behind them. Stenzel and the 99. Little contact down the front. Are we 3 wide down into 1? We almost made it 3. They're 3 in behind them.
Yeah, Weatherman got into the fence, and it's going to allow Donnie and Briscoe to get to the bottom. Will Rogers backs out, and it is chaos back here in traffic, though. Weatherman going to lose that spot. So move the 98 car. Oh, and he's into the outside wall now. Weatherman got loose. He's in the fence. He'll recover, and he's going to drop out of a transfer spot. Briscoe now to 4th. Will Rogers in P5. And how about the 99 of Elliott Sadler? Started to P11. He right now the transfer spot P6, but under fire. Tommy Joe Martin's looking to the bottom in turn 3.
Talk about the excitement, especially with Donnie Leah in his victory at Mansfield back in 2006 with a bit of a slide in turn 4. Trouble behind. Mentioned Elliott Sadler just got turned by Allgaier down the front stretch.
Oh, a tough break. That SimSeats car was doing so well, but he lost the battle, and it was Allgaier who came up alongside, pinched him into the fence just a little bit, and he got turned around. Sadler and Allgaier both into the inside wall. Again, no yellows in these heat races, so their hopes at advancing right now all but eliminated. And they're going to have to start thinking LCQ. Both those cars actually had a pretty good amount of speed right off of the get-go in this one. The battle you're watching now is for third on back. Let's take a look, though, left-hand side. You'll see a second look at this contact. It was Sadler getting passed by Tommy Joe Martins. That had happened to him, but then watch Allgaier join the picture late.
Justin Allgaier trying to dig to get a transfer position. Comes up off the corner. There's that little bit of contact, and that will probably end the heat race for both of those drivers, or at least send them to a last chance qualifier. It does give Tommy Joe Martins a little bit of a gap back to Scott Stenzel, but Stenzel digging deep here, about 2 lengths in between those two. That is the battle for position number 6 as you look at Donnie Leah up in the third place position as they ride around here in Dover.
And the sad thing is there too, Tim, when it comes to Elliott Sadler, I know he put in a ton of work in the past couple weeks to get himself up to speed in the sim, got himself a brand new rig, have been working with various different sim racing teams, and tonight making his Saturday Night Thunder debut. Bad luck for Elliott Sadler, who was showing some great speed on that transfer spot before the incident.
And this is the battle for the transfer position. Tommy Joe Martins P5, Rogers in 6, but Scott Stenzel on the outside and pounding on the door. Next time around, going to be 2 laps to go from Dover. Does the 63 Chevy have it in him to get this spot?
He's going to have to dig here in the last couple of laps. Will Rogers holds that position, and those drivers are pulling away from this transfer spot, so Rogers has to make sure he might play a little bit of defense here. He's got Stenzel in behind. They are joined by Ryan Ellis late in this race. So come by this time and see the white flag. Final lap. Anthony Alfredo clean and clear up front. This battle for 6th and back is intensifying.
And a bit of traffic as well in Allgaier for your race leaders. Up at the front of the field is Rogers, who is on the hot seat. Any sort of mistake would open up the door for Stenzel and Ellis behind. As in the front of the field, you see Anthony Alfredo. He's it easy for the 33 cars. He comes up on traffic, and he still gets it done. Alfredo wins in Heat Race 2. It is Lassard, Leah, Briscoe, Martins and Rogers through P6, who advance to the feature. Stenzel and Ellis wrecking across the start-finish line, unable to get him.
Yeah, crazy battle for some of the final transfer spots there, Evan, but Stenzel, Ellis, Cindric, Allgaier, Sadler, Weatherman, all will have to go through a last chance qualifier now after some of their bad luck in heat race number 2.
The 12 drivers already know they're going to be racing in our feature race tonight. Let's take a look at our starting grid for heat race number 3. And it is, when you think of speed in our racing, you think of Ty Majeski. And he's going to be on pole position for this one, up against one of the best cars, though, in this Saturday Night Thunder series, in Alex LeBay. Noah Gregson and Ryan Vargas be an Xfinity duo in 3rd and 4th position, with Chris Shadakis and Myatt Snyder through P6.
And the second half, they have to go. Ryan Truex, Blake Cook, Josh Williams, Thad Moffitt, and Matt Mills. They will have to make their way up into the top 6 in order to make it easy for them, Evan, and transfer in through the heat. You don't want to be stuck in a last chance qualifier and have the potential of missing the show as we get ready for another 10-lap heat race. That front row, Ty Majeski, Alex LeBay, they know how to win here on iRacing, and I'm sure they'll be looking for a little bit of momentum with a checkered flag in this heat.
Through the first 2 heat races, we have seen at least one DNF and at least one driver start from outside of the top 6 get in to a transfer position. We'll see if those trends continue here in heat race number 3. But it'll all be in the hands of Ty Majeski, the CMR Roofing Chevrolet, up alongside the 90 car of Alex LeBay, representing the NASCAR Pinty Series. Looking for the flag to drop green. There goes the 45 a bit early, and we're off and away. Heat race 3, as expected. Your top 2 going to be clear in the race to 1. Here comes Noah Gregson, though. He'll get around the 5th with a Vargas for P3.
Yeah, and Vargas has to find a hole quickly to try and back to the bottom. Myatt Snyder hits the wall and collects the car.
Yeah, he took out somebody else, so the 57 machine of Blake Cook involved also his filter time machine around. It was contact with that tax slayer entry of Snyder after he snacked the wall at a turn number 2, came down, and there was nowhere for Blake Cook to go. So that takes Snyder out of a transfer position. Your race leader is not as crazy. And because of that, now you find Ryan Truex inside the top 6. He assumes that position, and Snyder had the issues.
And you saw that on that last pan, the top 6, it kind of broken away there, and you can see it back to Truex to the rest of the field as we take a look at the replay as to what happened on that exchange. You'll see that on the left-hand side of your screen as they're racing hard off the corner, and Evan mentioned the keys. You don't want to get into the wall, race the racetrack, and Miles the Monster just bit that 93.
And unfortunately, Blake Cook was the seconds in that meal because he really had nothing to do with it initially, but had no chance of getting away. Battle for third on track is Christian Eckes. Nice and easy in the Safe Light Toyota. He made that move on the inside of Noah Gregson. So bump up Eckes up to third after starting this race in P5. And Gregson drops a spot. But again, no harm, no foul, because that transfer position, Justin, relatively unchallenged. Truex has it. He's the trail car in all of this in that white number 40, and then it is nearly a second and a half back to the next closest car, Matt Mills in P7s. Truex pretty comfy right now, and it would take a big self-inflicted error for something to happen to him to not make the feature.
Yeah, if you're any of those drivers inside the top 6, the mindset has to be just ride. Get yourself to the checkered flag. Just stay calm for 5 laps. Stay where you're at. If you see someone make a mistake, take advantage and get it done quickly. But you want to make sure you don't take too many unnecessary risks, especially to make a pass when you're already in a spot to advance, because any contact, you allow Matt Mills back in the picture.
And that's not what you want. So race the racetrack, almost not the cars around you, even though, of course, you're in a battle for that transfer position. And you can see this big pack of cars. This is everybody from that 9 of Gregson on the back. So 4, 5, and 6. Christian Eckes is going to pull away just a little bit. He's on his own in third. And Alex Lebay is doing his very best, Tim Terry, to match the lap times of Majeski up front. Not sure he's going to be able to do so, though, as Majeski's led all the way. Be 2 laps to go this time by. Gregson may have his hands full though here for P4.
Vargas and Truex right behind them, and as long as they don't upset the apple cart a whole lot, they should be able to transfer into the main. Matt Mills is back there, but he's over a second back, trying to reel these guys in. He may have ran out of racing real estate a couple laps ago and slapped that wall, and these guys are getting close to it off of corner number 4. Leaving it all out on the racetrack, trying to transfer into the Saturday Night Thunder feature. Gregson gets a great run through 1 and 2, and he'll gap that 51 by about a car length.
And here's the onboard shot with him. He picked up a bunch after starting at the very back of this 11-car grid, but P7 again not going to cut it, and his only hope is that the cars in front have some sort of an issue as the white flag is in the air. Final lap in heat race number 3, and Majeski and Lebay almost lap for lap in the same 1/10 of a second bracket, but it is going to be that 4-car length of an advantage that'll make the difference here as Ty Majeski pulled the checker and the win in heat race number 3. He's moving on along with Alex Lebay. There's going to be contact behind, not for position. Eckes third. That was Gregson, who finished 4th with Vargas and Truex. Justin, your top 6.
That Moffitt, though, was able to squeak his way into 7th position at the stripe. Matt Mills in 8th position. Then you have Snyder, Josh Williams, and Blake Cook, who was involved in that incident with Snyder, rounds out the 11 drivers in heat race number 3. Bad luck for the 57.
Yes, it's some drivers DNF'd that one, and that was the second time in 3 attempts that the guy from Pole won his heat race. So let's do it one final time and take a look at your iRacing starting grid for heat race number 4. And Bailey Curry's been one of the best cars to practice all week, and it'll be the 74 starting from pole position. He'll be joined by Landon Huffman, your winner from Talladega. Kaz Gralla, Todd Gilliland going to double up. They'll be 3rd and 4th position on row number 2. Jeffrey Earnhardt starts into P5 with Brett Moffitt in 6th.
And just on the outside looking in, it's Derek Kraus and Tyler Ankrum in row number 4. Spencer Boyd, Gus Dean in row number 5. And Jesse Awuji completes your field. There's some stout names on that second page, Evan. They're going to have to get up there and make a couple of spots, but I think they're very capable of doing so as you look back at this field getting ready to roll off for our 4th and final heat race of the evening.
And we saw the weather conditions earlier, Justin. I'm not noticing that sun beating down on the racetrack either. The dynamic sky, partly cloudy, means the sun's going to be peeking in and out of the clouds. And, of course, when we're in this kind of condition with the shade, track temp's going to cool down just a little bit when the sun's beating down on it. So track temp dropping, it will drop a little bit. It got up to 90 as we were there in the sun. So all of those things that drivers have to keep in mind.
Yes, take a look at, I believe this is Brett Moffitt trying to work his way and warm up these tires. It's going to take a lot of work to get them heated up with how cool it is. But at the same time, grip levels are going to be very high. Speeds are also going to be very high. So that's going to be meaning some of the fastest times these drivers have had this entire week, because they had a 12-hour practice session right before tonight's action. That was in the 100s in temps. This is a track temp of 89 degrees for the drop of the green flag in Heat 4.
His car off and into Bailey Curry has that little bit of discretion on him, but he wants to start this race. Landon Huffman guessed wrong. His SimSeats car trying to figure out when the 74 was going to go. Now he has to back up. The green flag flies, and Bailey Curry's got a big run in front because there's chaos behind. A couple of cars out of shape. Nobody spins, though. They hang on, and all 11 cars make it to turn 1.
They all maintain forward momentum. The 50 of Earnhardt, little suckways off of corner number 2, and they maintain it. Moffitt still stuck on that outside contact, and it's going to send the 50 around.
It is Earnhardt who spins into the outside wall. Jeffrey Earnhardt's heat race done just like that after he got hit by Brett Moffitt. All of those cars got stacked up bumper to bumper, something had to give, and in that case it was the 50 car. Now funny to back in traffic. Oh, and another spinner! It's Spencer Boyd into the inside wall. He made contact with Gus Dean from behind, so more issues, but most of this happening outside of your transfer positions. Right now, you're watching Tyler Ankrum and Brett Moffitt. That is 6th and 7th. Derek Crush right there just ahead of them into 19, runs in 5th. But Moffitt trying to get into a transfer spot, Justin, but with a bit of damage on the front of his Plan B sales entry.
Yeah, you see why on the left side of your screen here with the contact with Earnhardt. Earnhardt gets a little bit loose, and that crushed the whole front nose in for Brett Moffitt. The concern now is, because of that contact, how the straight line speed will be, and we've seen it on the track already. Moffitt is having a hard time keeping up with the back of the group. Then you see what happened with Boyd here, trying to go for a late arc, makes contact, takes Dean with him.
Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit tight down there on the inside, so that was the issue there as the battling on track continues. But for the moment, Ankrum good in position 6, and I think that damage on Moffitt not helping him. He's pretty stuck there. I think he's beached in P7. Unless the cars in front of him have an issue. But something that we've seen, Tippett, in most of these heat races is we're halfway through this one, 5 down, 5 to go. Is your race leaders having the ability to pull away? In this one, not so fast. Your top 4 all separated by less than half a second. It's Curry, Gralla, Huffman, and Gilliland.
Yeah, you mentioned Brett Moffitt kind of beach back here. If something happens with these top 4 and somebody makes one little small mistake, you're going to see Brett Moffitt back into the picture of a transfer spot. 2 wide for the lead position. It was almost 3. Kaz Gralla goes to the inside. Landon Huffman thought about making it 3 wide. He'll stick it to the inside of the 74 Bailey Curry, and just like that, Curry falls to position number 3, and Todd Gilliland taking a look at that 74. Nothing going to happen there. Top 2 now have a little bit of separation, led by Kaz Gralla.
Well, we mentioned mistakes. Curry got into the outside wall at 4, and it is not done yet. Gilliland once more trying to get down to the bottom. He's got Derek Kraus as the backup as well. This battle for 4th position on back. Gilliland now finally has the nose there down the back straightaway. Side by side, he's got it. Now here comes the 19 car, and Bailey Curry may go from the lead in this heat race, Justin, to maybe the last spot in as we take 2 laps to go.
Yeah, but at this point, I don't think you're panicking too much if you're Curry, as long as you don't make contact with those cars below. I think he's in a good spot still because of that damage to Moffitt. Just, if I was him, let by Ankrum, tuck in behind, get yourself to the feature and go from there.
You really don't need to go side by side as he caught the wall there just a little bit, and the 26 is going to fight by on the bottom, and despite the resistance, it is Bailey Curry now falling to position 6, and a bit of an exhale there on the radio with his team. That'll still be enough, though, to transfer in, and more than enough up front for Kaz Gralla, who final time at turn 4 comes to checkers and wins heat race 4. He's going to bring himself Huffman, Gilliland, Kraus, Ankrum, and Curry, 1 through 6, to tonight's main event, and the rest of them now headed to an LCQ.
A little bit of patience being shown there, made that move for the lead and pulled away. Kaz Gralla going to victory lane as we see the results from heat race number 4. Get ready for a couple of last chance qualifiers. Top 6 make it in. Brett Moffitt just on the outside, Evan, and he'll have to make his way into the feature through this last chance qualifying round coming up.
Yeah, so we'll split all of those drivers who did not advance into 2 different LCQs. Are we going to split them into 1? We'll see, but here's your starting grid for the LCQ, and it'll be Sam Mayer indeed on the pole position for this one, so LCQ 1 with Thad Moffitt in second. Sheldon Creed and Matt Mills going to make up third and fourth position with Harrison Burton and Myatt Snyder halfway in P6.
Josh Bolecki starting in 7th position, then Josh Williams in P8, McLaughlin, Cook, and then Brandon Brown rounding out the 11 drivers and LCQ number 1 tonight.
We split all those non-transfers into 2. We'll have 11 of them in LCQ number 1 and 11 in LCQ 2. Only the race winners, though, from these LCQ can join the main event, and that is how we will get to our 26-car main grid. 24 have started and gotten through from the heat races, and we do modify the format just a little bit. Tim Terry, the rules remain the same, no yellows, but it goes from 10 laps to 15, and because you're chasing down only that number 1 position, I think those extra 5 laps will be appreciated by some of the drivers who may have been involved in incidents in their heat races despite having speed, who are trying to kind of race their way through the pack here.
When we saw those heat races, we said the back half of the field doesn't get in, the top 6 make their way in, so maybe you can ride a little bit if you're 7th or 8th, pick up a spot, and then kind of set yourself in a rhythm. And there's no riding here. It's 15 laps, we're taking the winner. So if you're not in that first place position, you have to be on pressure to try to get up there and make that move for the win. If you're the leader, you can't rest on your laurels. You got to race this racetrack, race your competition, keep the tires underneath you for 15 laps, and take it to victory lane and take it to the feature. If not, you're loading up and going home as the field rolls off for the first LCQ, 15 laps in length. You see the 74 Sheldon Creed on the inside as he gets ready to attack this racetrack for 15 laps of competition.
You see those drivers as well trying to scuff the tires a little bit, heat them up a bit for this restart. And of course, it'll be Mayer and Moffitt side by side on the front row. And because there are no yellows, you may be more inclined, if there's trouble on track, to be a bit more brazen to try to find a way through. You basically need all but a perfect LCQ race to be the race winner of these 11 and go to the main show. Otherwise, you're going to load it up on the virtual trailer, go grab a drink, watch the feature, and get set to do it again next week for another installation of this Saturday Night Thunder. But the base car is off and in. Let's see what Sam Mayer's got. He's going to start up front. You get the 21 Chevy in control for 15 laps. Here we go. It's LCQ number 1.
Handled that start perfectly, but already lots of drivers bumping and painting contact.
And a big spin as it's Sheldon Creed into the inside wall. The outside wall, Blake Cook for a second race in a row. He's involved in an incident that he had nothing to do with. And all of that chaos now shuffles up the mid-pack. And your top runners way spread out. Mayer leads Moffitt. Moffitt got into the outside wall. That time at a turn 4. So here comes Harrison Burton trying to make it a fight for second.
Burton reeling in, Moffitt ahead of him as they go down the back straightaway, less than a car length between them, and Burton goes up to the outside line, side by side for the moment, entering the corner. Can't get anything done up there. He'll pursue that 46 down the front straightaway into corner number 1 and try to make that move to the inside. Battle for position number 2, and oh, by the way, here comes Myatt Snyder.
Yeah, that high side didn't gain a bunch, but he got a big run off of the corner, so that's how Burton gets to P2, and now Myatt Snyder. The next one to try to work over Thad Moffitt on the bumper that time into 3 as they touched. And how about a bump and run for Myatt Snyder as he will move Thad Moffitt out of the way and take over position number 3, JP, as we get a second look at that incident.
Yeah, we'll take a look at this now on the left side of your screen, and you can see Harrison Burton got a good run, and this is similar to what was talked about by some of the eNASCAR drivers for Tuesday. If they got a run to the bottom side, they would take it if you didn't block it. Guess what? That's what Burton did. Took the bottom side and around went the 74 in Creed with a decent amount of damage as a result.
So with, of course, Moffitt now struggling after he hit the wall and maybe a bit of damage, hindering that number 46 Ford. He's down in position 4. Sam Mayer is your race leader, and it is by a healthy margin. The last time by, the advantage was 1.619 seconds. But that time through, it drops to 1.4. Harrison Burton faster than your race leader, but with 10 laps to go at LCQ number 1, Tim, he needs at least a tenth of a second per lap and then some if that 20 car is going to get up there in time.
He got about a tenth and change the last time by, but he's going to need that and then some, as you mentioned, because catching him is one thing, reeling him in is one thing. Making the pass is a whole different ball game, as Sam Mayer that time by at a 23.09 to a 23.16 for Burton. So Mayer pulled him a little bit on that last lap and put a little bit more of an advantage here as you ride on board with Harrison Burton trying to catch up to your leader, but he's going to have to dig deep, and he's quickly running out of time as this time by. They'll have 8 laps to go.
Yeah, Sam Mayer just put down a 23.174 second lap time on board with the Burton there, I should say. Just put down a 23.221. So the inconsistencies back and forth. If it wasn't for the disadvantage in that big time gap, I think Justin, he'd have a real shot to fight with Sam here. But Sam Mayer started on pole, and Harrison had to work through the traffic, and with a bit of calamity, that contact in the initial run down to turn 1 is what has put it back so far, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, he's going to need to hope for some absolute luck here. Meanwhile, for some of the other drivers, remember CJ McLaughlin, he's hoping for a ton of luck. Had bad luck galore in his heat race. Now has a chance to try and get by some of these cars, especially since Thad Moffitt has been letting off the gas a lot, apex off throughout this race.
And that was a big look for McLaughlin there, who tried to, I think, get a little bit too friendly with the outside of the ball, got loose. Oh, now there's contact. He gets into Mills. Mills gets hooked into the outside wall, now down into the inside wall. And just like that, his night is done after it was contact with the 39 car, hooked him into the fence. So even though there's only one spot advanced, it doesn't mean these drivers aren't fighting for every spot on track. There's what's left of the 39. This is finishing medal on that front end.
You can do what you can here in these last LCQs. Get a couple of laps in as you look at the replay as to what happened there, what transpired off of turn number 2, and it gets tight really quickly, and you got to make sure you know where your nose is, make sure your spotter is on, and it just gets tight off of those corners. We talked about getting out there and hitting that wall off of turn number 2. You also got to race the traffic as well. Up in front continues to be Mayer and Harrison Burton. There is Sam Mayer on your screen. Harrison Burton continues to lose time in these last couple of laps. So if Sam Mayer can keep it clean for the remaining 3 laps, he'll find himself starting essentially scratch Evan on the feature, but he'll be in the show.
Yeah, the invert only going to apply to the top 10, so some of your best qualifiers from the heat race not actually going to have that prime real estate for the main event. But these drivers who are those final transfers out of the LCQ, they will be at the rock bottom, basically last row for LCQ 1 and then LCQ 2 race winners. But you can see on board with Byatt Snyder in third, about a second off of Harrison Burton, and even further up the road, there he is Sam Mayer out in front of the field. The number 21 of Machine has got one more lap to go this time by.
And you can just see coming to this white flag here how much there's the bouncing and banging along some of the bumps around this track. But for Sam Mayer, he's been the quickest car even with the checkups that a lot of the cars have to do. He's been a tenth of a second quicker than the whole field each and every lap of this LCQ.
Final time for Sam Mayer. It is clean racetrack out in front, and pole to checker is the LCQ number 1 winner, Sam Mayer, qualifier number 25 for the Saturday Night Thunder 125. He wins and is going to the feature.
And there's going to be some drivers that have had their heart broken after that 15-lap event as you take a look at your finishing positions in the last chance qualifier. And Evan, Sam Mayer makes it in. Harrison Burton, the first one out, showed some speed, but just not enough at the end to crack that winner's position and make the main show.
Yeah, Snyder, Moffitt, and all those drivers going home. Blake Cook gets wrecked in other people's messes in both his heat race and the LCQ, so that was just a rough night for him. All those drivers outside of that number one position headed home. Their night is done. Let's roll, though, for LCQ number two. It'll be Scott Stenzel and Brett Moffitt on the front row, with Ryan Ellis and Jesse Iwuji third, fourth, Austin Cindric and Gus Dean through P6.
Justin Allgaier in P number 7, Jeffrey Earnhardt in P8, then Elliott Sadler 9th. Spencer Boyd, Kyle Weatherman round out the 11 drivers with grid slots in the last LCQ for the final spot in the feature.
Sam Mayer just talking over the radio channel with the driver, saying he was really losing the nose hard on those last 4 laps there. So it'll be really interesting to see how these drivers could manage that tight condition and the tire wear. If they're complaining about the 15-lap LCQ, who knows what's going to happen when we go racing for that 125-lap main. So look for that to be a big storyline when we drop the next green flag. But there is one more left until we go to the big dance, and it is right here, right now, for LCQ number 2. Scott Stenzel's got the target on his bumper. He's the control car as we roll at turn number 4 at Dover Downs. Green flag flies. We're off and away. And let's fight for a second. Here comes Ellis trying to get on the inside of Moffitt. He slides down and throws a block.
This fight for second is going to be key, Evan. You want to get to second place, get to that inside line, and try to reel in the leader or the driver ahead of you. We've only got 15 laps to do it. Brett Moffitt was able to get into second cleanly. Ryan Ellis right in behind, and then the battle in behind him, including Jesse Iwuji and the 22 of Austin Cindric, and Cindric has to dig deep. Here comes the 7 of Justin Allgaier. We're only taking one in, Evan. That battle in behind between Cindric and Allgaier, they're currently outside of that one.
And they are working hard, but look at the big single file train. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars all in a row. Just Gus Dean from P9. The last round to start this one. A little bit disconnected there. Now he joins the party, and there they all are. Single file train. Get here early at Dover, but Brett Moffitt has been the faster car. In comparison to Scott Stenzel, the last 2 laps. He's on the bumper, headed into turn 3. Thinks about using the chrome horn, doesn't do it yet. He's going to have 12 laps this time by to figure it out. But I would suggest, Justin, some more urgency, because if you sit here and to play with that 63, you open up the door for Ryan Ellis in third to join the party.
Hit the nail on the head here, and that's why Moffitt got a good run off the corner. Here he goes for the lead.
Oh, almost contact on the quarter panel. He'll force his way to the inside of Stenzel, who can't fight back, and now he tries to keep a nose up high. And Scott Stenzel fighting for his life. But on the inside, it is Brett Moffitt. You can book it. New race leader at lap number 5. He takes the lead at LCQ2. And now Ellis and Stenzel leading on each other.
Right on board with your leader, Brett Moffitt. If you're in behind, looking at that battle for position number 2. If you're Ryan Ellis, you cannot waste time here with Scott Stenzel. Stenzel in the wall. Iwuji into the back bumper of him. Little bit of damage to the 63. It reels in Justin Allgaier into the battle. It's a great battle, but it's for position number 3.
A big mistake by Stenzel. Get it into the outside wall, and unfortunately for Jesse Iwuji, it damages him as well. Justin they're going to continue to fight. Justin Allgaier almost 3 wide. Stuck it out. Now Stenzel into the outside wall. Iwuji into the fence also as he drove that number 63 up the hill, and now he's going to spin. Iwuji's around. Weatherman involved. Cindric has got a piece of the damage also. It is a junkyard in turn number 2.
That was absolute calamity throughout that whole entire span of the racetrack. Half a mile of bumping and banging. And we talked about how difficult it is to get off the corner, especially since it can get very tight on corner exit, these drivers described. That was the factor there. And now if you're Brett Moffitt, you're just thinking, take a deep breath, stay out of the trouble of the lap cars coming around the bottom of the racetrack, and you're golden.
You can see what's left of the Menards entry of Cindric on the bottom as he's trying to limp that car to the pit lane. His night is done, and it is that Plan B sales Chevy of Brett Moffitt out in front. Ryan Ellis would be the challenger. Last time by, the better lap, though, did go to your race leader. So now I think we go back into what we talked about more in those heat races, where it is that consistency for the 23 more important than the speed. Let's take a second look, though, at all the badness as your race leaders take 6 to go.
Yeah, if you're the leaders, you have to manage your tires, manage your run. These guys that were on the right-hand side of your screen a little too much. You take a look at the left-hand side now, down into corner number 3, and Stenzel up the hill a little bit. Had Jesse Awuji there. They're all battling hard for a position, and Stenzel hard into the wall, and then the aftermath per se right ahead of them as Weatherman gets going to swept up in this. Jesse Awuji there as well in the 22. Nowhere to go. So for your leaders, it helps a little bit, Evan, because it gives them a little bit of breathing room. But Brett Moffitt has a little more breathing room than I think Ryan Ellis wants to give him. It's now 9/10 of a second back to your second-place driver, Ryan Ellis, falling off the pace of Brett Moffitt.
He continues to improve, but Brett Moffitt looks like he is that much closer to advancing into tonight's feature race. Ellis has continued to drop back just a little bit. Justin Allgaier going 7th to 3rd. There you can see red or orange number 7 Brandt Chevy in the background. Same thing you'll see on the LG car tomorrow afternoon from Invitational. But let's go on board with some of those cars. There's Ellis, P2 in line. You can see Moffitt getting further and further away.
You can just hear how careful he has to be on this throttle, especially apex off. Listen here. How much he has to let the car roll it through the corner to make sure he gets the perfect exit. Too early, you slam the wall. Too late, you lose a ton of time. Just like that, Ellis had the faster lap of the two.
And speaking of slamming the ball, Justin Allgaier just did that from 3rd. That's why you don't see him in the background anymore. He got back rolling, but he was passed by Jeffrey Earnhardt. So Allgaier going to drop it down into at least P4, maybe worse, as it is the white flag in the air for Brett Moffitt. Final time around at LCQ number 2. We've already known now the 25 cars that are going to be in the feature. And this bad right here, the 23, wants to be number 26. Final time for Brett Moffitt, who made that pass early. He'll take the checkered flag and the LCQ 2 win. Moffitt's going to the feature.
Was good in his heat race, but not good enough to transfer in. Little smile on his face, and he's going to go to victory lane. He's going to start scratching the field, but he's in the show, Evan. That is the important thing. A tough break for Ryan Ellis. Just didn't have enough at the end to make it happen.
That is the thing, is just get into the show and worry about where you are from then. So everybody, Ryan Ellis down through, out of this one, not advancing. Ellis, Earnhardt, Allgaier, Awuji, Weatherman, Dean, Stenzel, and Cindric. That's a lot of fast cars who just could not put either the heat race nor that LCQ together and are unable to make it to the main event. Of course, happy that you're with us on the RA City Sports Network for Saturday Night Thunder. The heats and the LCQs have come and gone. All that's left is to crank up the music and get set to go racing for the Monster Mile. Let's get set for the feature. The starting order will see Donnie Leah on the pole position for this one, with Stephen Light rolling from 2nd, Landon Huffman and Alex LeBay 3rd and 4th on row 2. Rafael Lassard and Chase Cavery through P6 inside of that possible top 10 invert.
Cascarella starts in 7th tonight with Ty Majeski in P number 8. Row number 5 features Anthony Alfredo and Josh Berry, the winner of heat race number 1 in 10th. Christian Eckes starts at 11th tonight with Todd Gilliland rounding up the top 12, Tim.
Drew Herring, Chase Briscoe, Noah Gregson, Derek Kraus, Ruben Garcia, and Tommy Joe Martins through 18th.
Ryan Vargas going to be 19th with Tyler Ankrum, Jeff Burton, Will Rogers, and Ryan Truex along Bailey Curry in 24th. Sam Mayer, Brett Moffitt on their lonesome. Row number 13 from LCQ transferees. So that's a look at your starting grid for this one. We want you to be a part of the conversation with us tonight. How have you enjoyed the action so far? Who do you think is going to be into victory lane at the end of the next 125 laps? You can use the hashtag Saturday Night Thunder to join the conversation with us. Also hashtag eNASCAR. Let us know who you think is going to be the winner here tonight from the Monster Mile. The lights are out on top of the iRacing.com pace car. So here we go. Donnie Leah going to be in control in his '07 Toyota Supra down on the inside of that front lane, doubled up with 25 of Stephen Light. Pace car down and in as we say, let's go. Saturday Night Thunder Racing from the Monster Mile, looking to the flag man at a turn number 4. Here we go, off and away. It's 125 laps of future racing.
Down into corner number 1 is a Thunder down for position number 2. Donnie Leah escapes with the lead position. Landon Huffman, it has a great launch as well. They all try to funnel in behind Evan for position. You can see the go up one around.
That was Gregson. Gregson in the 9 just got turned. I think he's back up and onto the racetrack, though. No yellow in that one. It was contact with the 3 car, I believe, of Drew Herring. But he did a big slide and held on. You can see Gregson on the racetrack right now at a battle with Tommy Joe Martins for 17th and 18th. There will be yellows in this future race. It is live admin yellow, so no automatic cautions if there's an incident. Race control will take a look and decide if enough cars are involved, or the racetrack will not be clear for your race leaders. They will decide to throw a yellow then and only then. That small contact back to back, not warranted of one. So we watch the battle up towards the front of the field as Rafael Lassard trying to chase down Huffman and Leah. The 70 car not getting too far away for the race lead.
Yeah, some good battling up towards the front so far with the top 6 single file, but take a look at what happened with some of the contact here. You see drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate, and it's so tight to this part of the racetrack, and any sudden movements will just bob you around. And remember, safer barrier was added on iRacing last week. 3 less feet to work with down the straightaways. That makes it a lot more narrower for some of these cars.
Yeah, Jimmy, this is already a very tight racetrack on quarter exit, but of course iRacing's been super busy these last few weeks with the art updates and updating these tracks for the Pro Invitational Series and this event, and I'm sure those drivers are feeling those extra few feet that they're short.
Take one more look at this, and I'm not sure how any other competitors did not hit him, Evan. Everybody was just so jockeying for position. First lap, middle of the pack, right on board with Gregson on the left-hand side. Just barely kisses the wall, then comes back up into traffic, and everybody kind of splits him. Everybody avoids him, no yellow flag on the speedway. So, job well done by not only Noah Gregson, but also his competitors. And you see Stephen Light battling side by side with Alex LeBay. That is the battle for position number 5. And here comes Anthony Alfredo. He wants a piece of the top 5 fight.
Yeah, but so far nowhere for Alfredo to go as he stays 2x2, not wanting to force a third lane. And on the inside, it'll be Light around LeBay, getting that position back from the 90 to take over what is 5th on track at the moment. So no single file out, and you can see that's kind of a 4 or 5 car pack there with the likes of Rala, Eckes, and Majeski in the fold as well. But race leaders try to pull away just a little bit, and I have to think that somebody like a Landon Huffman here may be the fastest on track. He's gone to the bumper of Leah a couple of times. He's not gotten close enough to make the move. Again, these drivers have only been doing 10 to 15 lap sprints so far. This is a long 125 lap feature. You have to conserve equipment much more.
Yeah, that is extremely important because the longer the run goes, the more you put laps in, of course. But a lot of times, drivers were concerned on Tuesday about blowing tires here and the speeds they're pushing. You have risk of doing that around 70 laps or so. Drivers still talked about that for tonight's race, how important it was for tire management in real life and in the sim, with how tricky Dover can be and eat up tires with this concrete surface.
You're looking off to the back there towards this battle as they come rolling off of turn number 2, and you'll see just how close they get to the ball. Actually, a good bit of space left that time by Cabry, not really pushing the envelope much as he runs it forward. That was a shot off of the back end. Rafael Lassard in the number 4 Toyota, but this is your lead pack. Now 11 laps into caution-free thus far, and all 26 drivers who started this race are still in it. So Gregson recover from a spin, and I think aside from that, Tim, a very good beginning this main event. But that second pack of 4 or 5 cars that we were just talking about are starting to catch your race leaders as it's looking to the inside by the 4. Cabry trying to get around Lassard, can't do it. And Stephen Light now has joined the party.
Lassard had a little bobble in the middle of 3 and 4 and was pushed up the racetrack a little bit. The 4 Cabry was able to try to get to the inside and make that move, but couldn't capitalize on the mistake made by the Quebec driver, and Lessard will continue to run in position at number 3. Evan, I want to go back to what Justin said off the top of the show with these tires. We saw 15-lap runs in the heat race. We're getting to lap 13 now. We'll see how far these drivers go and push their tires here and see where the cliff is, per se, once those tires start falling off and who starts falling off. We saw it Tuesday night with the Cup car with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We'll see who maybe glimmers first or has a little bit of a movement first up front. Donnie Leah, Landon Huffman, Raphael Lessard, and Chase Cabre, your top 4 nose to tail as you ride on board with the 4.
We're watching the 4 car here of Cabre trying to get up onto another 4 of Lessard in that battle for 3rd and 4th position in this one. And of course, talking about Tuesday night, Justin, the main concern there for pit strategy, that was a 200-lap race, so a bit of a different complexion than this 125-lap affair. The drivers in that one were more so concerned about winning when the tires needed it, as opposed to when they were going to run out of fuel. And if this race should stay green, we would require green flag pit stops to make it this distance.
Yes, and that means the strategy game could be fairly open for some of these cars, about a window of 10-20 laps. Put it up the middle. I wouldn't be surprised to see most of the drivers do if we get to that point. But to talk again about the importance of the tire, where Lennon Huffman said it earlier today to me, where whoever can maintain pace without killing their tires will be solid. Guess what? This top 4 grouping, the most solid pack of cars on the track. They're currently the only few cars in the 23 4s in the low 5s.
Yeah, they're very consistent, and funny enough, actually, the best lap of the race was put down by Alex LeBay, and he's gone backwards. He started 4th and is running around in 7th. He's back in that second duo of race cars with the 23.068, so it just goes to show you that you can have speed, but it's translating that into that consistency that's going to be so important. And no surprise either, Tim, that these names up in the front of the field, the experienced sim racers who, of course, know a little bit more so than the drivers who may be new to the sim world, how to conserve their equipment, make it last year as you go on board with Gralla running P6.
And on this long run, I wouldn't count out guys like Anthony Alfredo, Kaz Gralla, Alex LeBay, Christian Eckes, Ruben Garcia, Ty Majeski, and Josh Berry are hanging out on the back half of the top 10 right now and just trying to ride a little bit. There goes Kaz Gralla. Oh, kisses the wall a little bit, I think, off of corner number 4. So got to take care of your equipment, conserve your equipment. Remember, if you didn't join us off the top of the show, there are no resets. They have to take care of this race car that they have. And I think we're going to start to see these cars start to fall off a little bit when it comes to tires here in the next 5 laps or so. I know a lot of the B-fixed races that I've seen this week, Evan, they've been 50-lap races, and around lap number 35, those drivers are absolutely screaming to come down pit road because the tires fall off. At about that point, you see that battle there. There's Josh Berry, Ty Majeski. They haven't really moved a whole lot, Evan. They're still hanging out on that back half of the top 10. Caution's out.
Oh, first caution flag of the night, and it is an issue at the back straightaway with Tyler Ankrum in the number 26 car. He is around, and he had a bit of assistance, a multi-car incident. Going to slow us down for the first time. It was Ankrum who started it. And I believe Drew Herring and Tommy Joe Martin's also involved in a battle that was for 14th position on back. That is the reason the race leaders have slowed down. It was in turn 2. You can see the cars involved clear of the incident, but serves us right for talking about green flag pit stop strategy, because right on cue you get a yellow. First caution flag here at lap number 20. And the race leaders now going to look to go to the pit lane. 4 tires and a fuel. Likely the call for all of them. Donnie Lee going to be the first driver in. He'll also have the benefit of that number 1 pit stall all the way down at the end. Pit road speed here, though, just 35 miles an hour.
Should we expect most of these drivers take 4 tires? Don't expect anyone to even think about 2 tires at a high tire degradation circuit such as Dover unless it's the end of the race. It's going to be interesting how these pit stops go, though, because pit box selection, you hit upon it, extremely important. The more time you can save on pit stop entry, the more likely you'll come out as the race leader.
And we've seen many of close races off of the pit lane so far in this Saturday Night Thunder series. You can see that almost everybody in agreement that pit stops necessary. You can actually see the left-hand side of those cars at the front of the field get jacked up. The cars at the back have their service completed sooner, but it is Donnie Leah the advantage, and he will win the race off of the pit lane. They were about 3 wide for second. I think Cabre may leapfrog Huffman, Lessard, and others. as he may be scored in P2 out of the pit lane. All those cars agreeing pit stops necessary as every single one of them came down. Now let's take a second look, Tim, at that incident.
Yeah, it's going to happen off of corner number 2, and Tyler Ankrum on that outside line, battling hard for a position, and just may have ran out of a little bit of real estate. We mentioned it earlier. Got to make sure that you manage the racetrack and take care of the racetrack, race the racetrack, and then the competitors. And you see a few scattered down the back. Tommy Joe Martins, Ryan Vargas among those that have damage from that incident. But yellow flag flies. The pace car was lonely on the racetrack, Evan. Everybody coming down pit road, and Donnie Leah going to lead this field back to green. And it looks like the lights may be off here.
Yeah, it was a tough break. I didn't notice Ryan Vargas involved in that one initially, so his radio Care Bears machine on in the pit lane, and of course, without the quick repairs, any drivers who got heavy contact in that one forced to pit road, and some of them may have the option to sit onto the pit lane for 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever the sim suggests or demands that you need to sit down there to get it fixed as well as you can. But that car is never going to be repaired to 100%, so those drivers, in effect, out of this race. And that is the importance of keeping it clean in a long race at Dover. So the lights out on top of the pace car. We will put 23 of 125 laps of the board behind us. And it'll be a new front row. Leah still in control on the bottom. He will dictate when this starts, anytime between when the pace car dives to pit lane and the green flag actually comes out. But he is going to be alongside Chase Cabry, who did indeed pick up all of those spots with a very, very fast pit stop. Pace car off and in. When does the 07 let them go? It's a slow roll on the inside of turn 4. Still waiting. Now he puts the right foot down, up through the gears, and we're back underway. Cabry got caught out on that one. Here comes Lassard, the front for second.
It was talked about by some of the eNASCAR drivers for Tuesday on these starts. Even on fresh cars, you get a lot of wheel spin. Guess what? That's what happened to Cabry, and now he's getting freight trained and losing tons of spots. All of a sudden, from second back to fifth, Evan, because of one bit of spin.
And he tried to kind of guesstimate that start, went a little bit early, had to roll out of it, and it really hurts Cabry as he ends up in P5 after that lap. Oh, and a spinner behind the 3 cars involved. The look out, traffic, Gregson as well. Caution at lap number 25. Restart chaos, and it'll claim a few more victims.
He'll slow the field down one more time as the yellow flag comes out. 25 laps into this 125 lap feature, and some of those drivers at the back of the field having that caution flag. We saw Drew Herring involved in that last incident, not of his own doing, and swept up in this one again. Tough break in the middle of the pack, and there's Anthony Alfredo on your screen too. Anthony was able to get up here and race his way into a top 3 position before that yellow flag flew.
I see a couple of people who are using that hashtag Saturday Night Thunder saying that Miles the Monster's hungry tonight, and he just got a couple more race cars to eat there. Let's take a look, though, at this replay, and I think this one is more so a product of Herring as opposed to him being a byproduct of the incident. You're on board with Noah Gregson. That's Herring in front of him without the back bumper. They're going to work on the inside here. See, bump it, trying to get him out of the way, and right there, the 3 gets loose, comes down, and he gets him, Gregson.
Yeah, it looked like for Herring that he had a bit of a bobble down that straightaway just before he came into contact with Gregson, because it can get fairly loose just after the corner exit right there. But now, everyone's grouped back up. 99 to go, Evan.
And we're taking a look at the number 33 Chevrolet in third position. That's Anthony Alfredo, who we are on the driver radio channel with now. Anthony, you started a top 10 car, and I'll tell you what, you've been making moves so far, sitting P3.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I feel really great. You know, we ran a lot of official races this week to prepare for this race and won a lot. It's kind of funny because I actually never raced on Dover on iRacing when this week started, and I couldn't make a lap without hitting the wall off either corner. Didn't know how to save tires, and suddenly I won 4 out of my last 8 races, and all of them were in the top 3 starting position and finishing position. So I'm pretty pumped about this race. It's probably the one I've felt the best about so far, and I wasn't too thrilled about the inverted field after those heat races, but it seems to work out here. We're back where we belong up front, and see if we can get the lead here. If not, we're definitely going to try to take care of our stuff, and long run's my strength here for sure, and it was starting to show before that last caution. So see if we get another long run here, and see if we can drive our way up to the lead and manage a race from there.
Yeah, the LCQs, and of course those heats were tough because they were super short. How did you kind of modify the approach to those to be able to get through? Then, of course, you mentioned going for the long run in this one.
That's a great question. I just really had a pretty good starting position in the heat. Obviously started second, so the goal was just to kind of get in line, and I had a shot at the lead, so I took it, and that was for what I thought was a front row starting position. It ended up being inverted, but it's all good. It got us on the inside line, obviously, started ninth, and, once the race started, just fell in line. They kind of drove away from us there, and then we gapped it out back and started closing the distance out front. So it's a true honor to drive this car and pay tribute to Wally Yoakum as well. This is painted just like the aircraft that he was a crew chief on. So this is really special to me, and I know it is to their family. So I'm hoping to give them a good run tonight and hopefully park this beautiful race car in victory lane at the end of this thing for them and everyone else who supports me.
Well, it's looking good right now, getting that TV time up in that number 4 position. Anthony, thanks for chatting, though. We'll catch up with you maybe a little bit later on as you guys get set for the restart. Good luck here.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys.
On aboard there and on the driver radio with Anthony Alfredo, who is currently being scored. Actually, what's going to be P3. He was showing P4 the last time by the start-finish line, but he'll be on the inside of row 2 alongside the 75 of Landon Huffman. And Tim, that kind of, to go back to you, speaks to what we were chatting about, the differences between those 10 and 15 lap sprints in the heats and the LCQs to managing these cars on the long runs. And Anthony, a long-time sim racer, does a lot of streaming online, and I'm sure he's given some of his fans that perspective from up front right now.
And the one thing I'll take from that interview is that he mentioned he did a lot of official races and did some winning. Those official races for Be Fixed are 50 laps in length, so he's done some 50-lap runs or at least some 30-lap runs in those races, so he knows what the tires are going to do. He knows how the car reacts on a restart. You don't really want to be stuck out on the outside because you're fighting your way to the inside. So Anthony Alfredo kind of knows what to expect here. He's been through a couple of races on the iRacing service this week, so that information in his back pocket is going to be key when we get forward towards the end of this race. We'll see what Anthony Alfredo can do. P3 on this restart. I like the inside starting position, but it's all Donnie Leah up in front in the 07.
And of course, the 07 maintained throughout, and because that was such a short green flag run before the incident we saw in the back, your race leaders opting not to come down to the pit lane. Positions 18 on back did. So those top 17 cars, all your fast cars and the race leaders up front, not taking service under the yellow flag. The base car is going to be off and in, though. Let's do it again. There is still 96 laps left to go on the scoring pylon. You can see the 4 Lassard wants to go, but Donnie Leah is in control. Green flag flies. We're back away, and he'll clear him and race down to turn number 1. The fight's going to be for third, as it is Alfredo clear the inside of Landon Huffman.
We've seen last time where someone with a bit of a bobble on the start had troubles on the high side. That's now happening for Huffman, who's trapped now on that top line. Looks like Kaz Groa may give him a bit of space. No, Groa takes the run.
The 20 Honda machine's going to go for it here. He'll try to stick the nose down to the inside. Huffman yields, moves up a lane, and that should give Kaz a good opportunity to clear on the inside. 75, though, not willing to go away. That is Huffman making the outside line work. And you can see limited 2x2, a little bit of battling back in the pack as now Gralla does get that spot. So that number 29 machine is on through, and he wants more now to the inside of Caberry. This battle going to be for P4. I'll tell you what, Tim Gralla's looking pretty hungry in that hot scream Chevy.
Trouble behind as Christian Eckes going around, and looks like we're going to stay green. No, we're not. Caution flag is out. Majeski's involved in the back straightaway. Derek Krause among those involved in the back, and it happened just behind that battle that we were watching, Evan. Christian Eckes got turned into the wall, and then everybody else had to take evasive action to get by.
And it was not unassisted. You talk about Majeski being involved. I think Noah Gregson's downer venitis continued as he may have been involved as some of the calamity in behind, or the collateral damage, if you will. But I believe Eckes was assisted by Ruben Garcia. The replay will tell us the tail of the tape. I do know that it had been a good night for Christian Eckes. Had started in P11, had worked his way up into a top 10 spot. And because he is wrecked out in that one with no resets available in this race, his night, or at least his attempt at fighting for the race win, may be done. That car is currently parked on the pit lane with a lot of smoke pouring out of the back. As your race leader is thinking about pit stops, there's no commitment cone, so all you have to do is look out for the tires, and it is Cabri first car in, so majority of your top 10 opting not to come down for the service.
Yeah, we ran a couple green flag lap cycles, mind you, on those tires. Don't blame some of the cars for staying out there. But Cabri, hoping that it's caution breed cautions now, and he might be able to, say, gain track position if there's an air quick caution flag and the airs come down. But let's take a look towards what happened with that situation. You mentioned the assisted help, potentially for Christian Eckes. Ruben Garcia, you can see on the onboard right here, trying to make sure he doesn't get too hard on the gas. Just taps it a little bit too much right there, back into Eckes. And Eckes tries to save it, overcorrects, right across some other cars. They go, taking two contenders, Barry and Majeski, with them.
Yeah, two big names out of this one involved in that incident, and I think the onboard was kind of the best perspective to go with there off of the top, Tim, because it wasn't an initial drive into the corner where Garcia made the contact. You actually heard he drove it into the corner, and it was when he got back on the throttle that the car in front of him had not yet done that. That's actually where they got together.
And a tough break, and the one thing that Justin did mention, two big bullets in the chamber for drivers maybe saving some stuff in the middle of the pack. We talked about Christian Eckes, obviously, but Ty Majeski, Josh Berry are pretty much out of this race now with the damage that they incurred in that wreck. So for guys like Donnie Leah, Rafael Lessard, Anthony Alfredo, those guys that are up front that we kind of saw through that invert, that have kind of established themselves as the front runners, they are up front, and there's two names that they do not have to contend with in the second half of this race. Donnie Leah leading this race, Evan, and I know he does a lot of league racing and in private leagues on the iRacing service. He actually has one of his Sim 500 drivers in EJ O'Rourke doing some spotting tonight, so he has one of the live spotters in the service and doing pretty well right now, and that might be a key when we talked about those restarts, Donnie bringing them down slow. That's the advantage of having one of those live spotters. That spotter can count you down and tell you where to go and kind of feel that the nuances of the other drivers that are in this field. So I'm pretty sure that Donnie likes having EJ O'Rourke in the year tonight.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things, maybe, Justin, that somebody, who is new to the sim that drives a real race car in the real world is not going to be getting used to, is there is an automated spotter in iRacing where a car gets to your outside and you're going to have a voice read out to you, car high, to walk you through it, but it is those nuances. It's more than just car high, car low, clear. It is those nuances of this guy's coming and going, these are the lanes that are working. That's where a live spotter, which is an option in the sim, can really benefit these drivers, and expect that most of the field here tonight has somebody helping him out live spotting, and it's likely an iRacing member and maybe some pros as well, because I know they've been really involved in helping mainly the guys out in the Pro Invitational Series get acclimated for those races on Sundays.
Yeah, you mentioned exactly with some of the pro drivers. Anthony Alfredo, for example, working with Zach Novak and Jimmy Molis. They race in the Sim League that Alfredo actually runs on Wednesday evenings and on Monday nights as well. Alex LeBay working with some of his real-world competitors. You talk about drivers like Landon Huffman, Blake Reynolds working with the 75 machine tonight. And mind you, a lot of these drivers who are part of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series have been helping the drivers in the Pro Invitational and Saturday Night Thunder to get as well as they could and catch up as much as they can to get up to speed as quick as they could for these races to help them learn everything they could about iRacing.
And you can, of course, watch that next round of the Pro Invitational Series tomorrow. It is the eNASCAR Finish Line 150, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start. Check your local listings on Fox, FS1, and streaming on the Fox Sports app. A pace car off it in, though. Donnie Leah, third time's a charm, still up front and still in control. Saturday Night Thunder at the Monster Mile, but once more making these drivers hold their horses. Green flag in the air. Now we're off and away. He's going to reel these car lengths in the race to turn one.
And he's able to get Rafael Lessard to the inside. He'll maintain position number 2. Alfredo for 4th, and Kaz Gralla now trying to hold off Alex LeBay. Takes that a high line to that spot. LeBay falls into line. First side-by-side battle appears to be Landon Huffman and Sam Mayer. Mayer had to dig deep from this field, and now he's working to the outside.
Mayer, your race winner at LCQ number 1 to advance into this one. Started a P25, had been running in 8th, but Jeb Burton now just passed him up on the bottom in that number 8 car, so he gets that spot away from him. And some more cars diving low as Burton's throwing blocks, and he's going to get tagged. Burton sideways. What a save in turn 3 after Mayer put a bumper to him. It is behind and out of mind because they hung on. No yellow, we're good. And up at the front of the field, Anthony Alfredo makes the pass on Lessard. He's now to race high P2.
Yeah, and he's got to keep nice and calm. He had the quickest lap last time by. And this is just the balance of maintaining pace with the cars in front, saving your tires to make sure you don't overcook that right front, while defending guys like Rafael Lessard here, because if you go too conservative, they'll try and build up a run and diamond their way past you and get a run to the inside by the next corner. So you have to be careful on how careful you are on the track.
And all these drivers up front have been in the mix basically all night long, Tim. That's why I was so impressed with the likes of Mayer, 25th to 8th. Even Brett Moffitt, your LCQ 2 winner, going 26th to position 10. But they are in traffic with a big, long line of cars. You're on board with Lessard there in 30. Got a little bit loose, but up a 2. And Kaz Brala maybe thought about trying to challenge, but a half a car length back, not going to be able to do so yet. Alex LeBay, that 5th car in line, along with the likes of Huffman, Garcia, through position 7 on track. So curious to see if Anthony Alfredo is going to be able to put it to Donnie Leah here. The 07 has impressed all night long. But Anthony Alfredo's on him now, looking to the inside in turn 3. Leah, though, won't give him the spot. He'll have to try to reset and go forward again.
That battle for the lead heating up. Keep an eye on the battle for 4th as well. Alex LeBay continues to flash the nose on Kaz Grala. They're all in the same lineup here, Evan. You look at 8 cars, nose to tail for that top position, led by Donnie Leah. And you kind of look over at the scoring pylon right now, and you see about 12, 13 cars or so. We lost a fair amount of cars on those last 2 cautions, so we're starting to see the field trickle down a little bit, field becoming a little lighter, and these drivers may be able to get into a rhythm a little bit more as you ride on board with Donnie Leah looking back at that field. 8 cars in front and a little bit of a separation from 9th on back, and then you see a little more separation in and behind as these drivers begin to move towards the front of the field, getting closer to that halfway point.
Right now, 16 cars scored on the lead lap, with those back 3 being Martins, Briscoe, and Light, all pretty damaged from incidents they've been in. So in effect, you've got about 13 clean race cars left, and it has an effect of the race it up front because it is as good as it has been all night long. Lap traffic now coming up. The 74 Machina Bailey Curry going to stay high, and race leader is able to safely snake on by down on the inside. Justin, the one thing though now, as drivers wreck out of this race, that it's going to lead to the increased chance of maybe this race going green.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what drivers have to think about. They're still outside the fuel number, though, by at least 10, 15 laps or so. As many of these cars have to get around traffic as well, and the more laps you turn, the more some of these drivers have to figure out, where am I going to reach these lap cars? Am I going to be able to get by them quickly throughout the corner? And you have to be careful as well. If you get them on the corner exit, that can lose you a couple tenths alone a lap.
As a pass to the back of the pack as Chase Cabry's dropping off. So Will Rogers, Ryan Truex jump up to 10-11. So Cabry struggling in that group right there. As you can see his number 4 down the caboose of that 4-car pack. A couple cars even further down the line maybe wanting to challenge. But this is the look off the back end of Rafael Lessard in 3rd. Looking back into Kaz Grala P4. And in fact, it is the 4 of Lessard on the move. He wants to go to the inside of Alfredo. This could be the fight for 2nd spot. I thought Alfredo would be going for the race lead, but instead it's Lessard trying to take P2 back. Unsuccessful that time, but the 4-car, that Mobil 1 Toyota, feisty, he wants it.
Alfredo kind of backpedaled the last couple laps into the clutches of Rafael Lessard. Lessard's looked a couple of times. This is the best look that he's had in the battle for position number 2. He's to the inside, to the door of the 33, up at a corner number 4. Alfredo going to get that run off of turn 4 and down the straightaway. Is it enough to clear the 4? Gives him room to the inside. Lassard continues to work. It's closed in. Casgrala and Alex Labey a little tighter as they work off the corner. They continue to be nose to tail with Alfredo leading it. Donnie Leah getting a little smaller in the windshields as you ride on board with Casgrala coming up at a corner number 4.
And such a unique mix of drivers, JP, up at the front of the field here. Of course, Donnie Leah leading this one. Anthony Alfredo, a driver who you would be used to seeing in the Xfinity Series on Saturday afternoons. But then you got the likes of Lassard and Labey, 3 and 5. The 2 Canadian drivers right now running top 5. That international flavor, always fun to keep out with the series that NASCAR sanctions outside of the U.S. borders. The NASCAR Pinty Series, of course, the Peak Mexico Series, and Whalen Euro Series. That Euro Series has been running their own entirely officially sanctioned esports series over the course of these off weeks, and only possible in the sim racing world as Ruben Garcia, Big Mexico driver, is going to front row view as Alex Labey passes Grala up the road. That one was for Ford.
And remember, Garcia had the chance to race in Texas to the Pro Invitational on Fox and FS1 and really impressed in that race as well. Some of his fellow competitors were happy to see him, and others like Lassard have been very impressive in their starts at the national level in NASCAR. Very impressive drivers amongst this top 7, and as you said, very, very diverse amongst their backgrounds and racing careers so far.
Bit of lap traffic that your race leaders are able to swerve on by. That's going to be a consistent trend now for the end of this race as drivers trying to stay out of trouble, avoiding those lapped cars who have been giving a lot of space, moving up to the outside and making sure your race leaders have plenty of space to get on by. And of course, the role of that shuffling of positions, this battle for the race lead amongst 1, 2, and 3. I think these are the drivers emerging as the class of the field. Leah, Alfredo, Lassard, they've opened up a bit over Alex Labey and company. Those top 3 are trying to scoot away.
And they'll come up on the 98 car to put Briscoe 1 lap down here. The 07 of Donnie Leah leads, but I kind of like the idea of the 33 of Alfredo when we talked to him a little bit earlier, and he said he did all those official races. This race, and I don't really want to say it, Evan, and jinx it, but it has a green flag look to it with a couple of drivers falling out of this event. So if he did a long tire run in a couple of those races to that 50-lap mark, he's going to know what he has. Maybe not necessarily what Donnie Leah has, because Donnie might have run a few different races or a few different test sessions, but at least Anthony knows what he has as they put a lap on Stephen Light. Battle in behind as they go side by side. Jeb Burton to the inside, a little more contact down into corner number 1 with Sam Mayer on the outside, but these drivers kind of know what they have. I kind of like these top 3. I think they're still pacing themselves a little bit. These guys back here, though, maybe using their stuff up a little more.
And they're door slamming for the high teens and whatnot. As you can see, 11th and 12th position. There it is with Burton and Mayer. And their race cars were relatively clean until that point. They're going to be working around the traffic just like everybody else. You mentioned Stephen Light. He was running back in traffic with Kraus, Briscoe, and Gajeski. And Briscoe was joking over the radio that the race of the modifieds back in the pack, all those damaged race cars that have lost those front clips, and some of them that have lost the hood. So that is what your race leaders are dealing with. In addition to the battles for position, Mayer had to check up on the throttle there about halfway through as the driver out of Frankfort, Wisconsin, tries to continue to run down the cars in front of him, but it looks like, at least for the moment, Cabri pulling away just a bit from P12.
And remember, Cabry's on a little bit fresher tires compared to most of the other drivers. In fact, in terms of drivers who came down that previous caution flag, Moffitt is amongst those drivers who've gained a lot of time. Cabry currently in 3rd, and those drivers who have taken some tires. It's getting interesting, though, to see, though, when the rest of the field elects to pit here, Evan, because remember, they are still outside the window, but I wouldn't be surprised to see drivers stretch as long as they can in case you get a yellow flag that puts you into the fuel window and doesn't put you at risk going a lap down if you come down.
Yeah, we are actually going to be halfway home in this race 2 laps from now, working lap number 61 of 125. You mentioned the likes of drivers who have a bit fresher tires. Brett Moffitt with the freshest ones in position 6. Alfredo Lassard now battling for second and third, and seeing Donnie Leah pull away may suggest that these two cars, Tim, may have started to hit that cliff on their tires. And Donnie Leah, who's been out in front and admittedly under constant pressure, must have been doing a really good job to not overdrive that car despite those cars behind him trying to make a move on him, because he's opened things up now to the biggest advantage for the race lead we've seen so far tonight. And we're halfway home now. Saturday Night Thunder.
Yeah, these guys have either hit the cliff or maybe they're saving a little bit more than Donnie Leah is. Maybe Leah's opened it up a little bit more. Maybe he was saving in the first half of this run as you ride on board with Raphael Lessard out of corner number 2. We saw in those, I keep going back to those official races earlier in the week. They're about 50 laps in length, so a lot of these drivers would have probably done a 50-lap run at some point this week. When you look at the tires, they're going to be screaming for tires probably before they're screaming for fuel. We saw that on Tuesday night in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So fuel strategy, pit strategy, you're probably going to want tires beforehand, but you never know when Miles the Monster is going to reach out and bite one of these competitors and we see a yellow flag. But Donnie Leah has extended that advantage. You look back from Anthony Alfredo, that's from second on back, leader about a second gone.
And of course, you know, the cars up front, Justin, who again did have two yellows in there to kind of save a little bit. So that's 43 laps of green flag racing as we take a look, looking back from second and looking up from third. That battle between Alfredo and Lessard. The race leaders are essentially on a 44-lap run right now, and there's 60 laps to go in this race. So if you're going for the one-stopper to split it in half, that magic number is about 8 laps away or so for that fuel window opening up.
Yeah, and this is such a beautiful shot here amongst these cars too, but the fall off is not as drastic as what was seen with the Cup car, should know. Only about a second of fall off, but at the same time, not going as quick, meaning you're not having as quick of your tire treads being burned off the race cars here. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if you're in a battle such as this, where if you elect to say go for the undercut, it could be the difference between who gets the spot and who doesn't, and bit of a bobble on the apron.
And here's a move to the inside by Raphael Lessard. Does he take advantage of the mistake by Alfredo? The 4 pushes up a good bit that time in 3 on the apron. A little bit of contact that time as they're leaning on each other in the fight for second. But inside is King, and it is Raphael Lessard back to P2. Take advantage of that small bobble by the 33 of Alfredo. Falls back to third after he got that apron in turn 2.
Now, what kind of pace does he have compared to Donnie Leah? He sets that pace in that second place battle now. Anthony Alfredo was in front of him for so many laps. Now Lessard moves to position number 2. It's about a second and a half up to Donnie Leah. We'll see what the driver of the number 4 car has as he pulls away a little bit from Alfredo, and the next one in line would be Alex Labay, starting to creep into the picture in car number 90 in position number 4, trying to reel in the 33 car. So now we'll see what pace that these guys have for positions 2, 3, and 4 now that they've shuffled up just a little bit. Donnie Leah continues to lead up in front, and you can see it up there all by himself as you ride on board with Raphael Lessard, and we get a little lap comparison the last couple laps.
And you notice both those cars, the race leader in Leah with a 2.22 and Lessard with a 2.86, as they're both in that 0.2 second range. We'll see what they get this time by, and if that 04 is able to close the gap at all. But the fastest car on track right now is actually Brett Moffitt in P5. That 10-lap difference on fresher tires. So as Alex Labay wants to close in on Anthony Alfredo, Moffitt is actually closing in on Labay for 4th and 5th position. So that 23 car reaping the benefits maybe of that little bit of a gamble on strategy. Again, not enough of a difference to allow Moffitt to go the distance he has to pit to get to the end, just like everybody else. But he could be a top 4 car before we see stops.
Yeah, and that is nearly a certainty. Chase Cabriel also reaping the benefits. Hasn't gotten to the exact position he was before, but up to 9th. Ryan Truex up to 11th position, is also on that strategy. Everybody else is a lap down. So keep an eye, I think, still on Moffitt. He's got himself some good space. He's kept the tires pretty cool from what we've seen in this run. And he's able to carry a little extra speed each and every corner because of those fresher tires on Apex.
And of course, his tire's wearing at the same rate, but because he's 10 laps fresher, they're going to last longer. Here comes Alfredo now, right back around Lassard and back to P2. It only took just a moment, and admittedly, Tim, I don't think Alfredo had the nose in there, but he spooked Lassard into giving him that position, and he did not falter with it once he did. So Alfredo flashes the nose, and it works. Just like that, he's back in a second.
And this was a 3-car battle. I say was because it's reeled in Brett Moffitt and Landon Huffman for that spot. So now we have a 5-car battle for position number 2, and Anthony Alfredo is trying to run and hide from this second-place battle and try to make it a third-place battle. He's got about 3 or 4 lengths now on Raphael Lassard, as Lassard tries to match the pace a little bit here. Donnie Leah, though, out in front and gone now by 2 seconds as they exchanged that position. Keep an eye on Brett Moffitt. Those newer tires compared to some of these drivers up in front starting to wear off the Plan B sails. Number 23 trying to make a move.
And we're passing the back of the traffic as well as Cabri and Rogers got around Gralla for 7th. So Kaz struggling on the wrong run is at a race low P7 right now. But here's the on-board look with the fastest man in town as Moffitt starts to lose that tire advantage just as he catches up to this group. Back bumper of Alex LeBay. This battle for position 4 and 5. Huffman not too far out the rear either, and it's going to be difficult for Moffitt, Justin, unless LeBay either makes a mistake or gives it up to him to get the inside of positioning. Just as I mentioned that, he'll get on the brakes on the inside, let him on through, and Alex LeBay is pitting at lap number 77. They could go the distance from here, so LeBay gives up P4.
Looks like the undercut strategy is now open for business here for the pit strategy. Question's going to be who else will go along that way, because LeBay will gain a lot of time, yes, but the counterpoint, you're going to have that time come back the other direction soon, and don't be surprised if we see a 1-lap undercut attempt amongst these 2 cars here to try and get away from one another.
Yeah, of course, separating yourself from everybody else is a big part of why that strategy is implemented, Tim, not just for the fresh rubber, but if you're not in traffic, if you're not getting held up by somebody, you're going to have to modify your line, deal with the dirty air. You ideally do want to get out there and on your own. The fall-off, though, for these cars is about a second and change as we see Donnie Leah now give up the race lead. He pits at the completion of lap number 79. So now Anthony Alfredo assumes the race lead, but Leah's fastest lap of the race had been a 23.0, and he was running about a second and a half, about 1.4 seconds slower than that. So you're immediately going to start being that much faster every single time around than these cars who are still not yet down pit road. So there's a battle for the lead between Alfredo and Lassard again.
And looking at the pit stop strategy, these drivers that are pitting now are kind of splitting that run. If they pitted on lap 22, 23, we're on lap number 80, 81 right now, 45 laps to go. So the run that we were on a little bit longer than the run to the finish for those drivers. And obviously with these drivers that are on the racetrack now, the longer that they go, the shorter the run that they're going to have to the finish if this thing stays green to the end. Anthony Alfredo, Raphael Lassard battle. Garcia is down on pit road, so we're starting to see a majority of these drivers down. I would anticipate Moffitt to stay out a couple extra laps, maybe lead some laps here before he comes down onto pit road.
Well, of course, he does have that advantage, so he can go a little bit longer, but only with 43 laps to go. Brett's been on these tires for 49 laps, so it's not like pitting now would be too early. It would not be uncharted territory. But interesting, I find that the likes of Alfredo and Lassard are staying out, as you can see Ryan Truex onto the pit lane there in his number 40 machine. The Marquise Chevy is down and in. And service being completed, as there you see Anthony Alfredo. He's going to pit from the race lead, which means for the first time this evening, as he's got company in Huffman, and I believe, one car's in the tires, though. That's Rogers, right?
Yes, it is, and this is a very difficult pit lane, remember, to enter here, where you're trying to transition from the banking straight down to the flat of the apron. Looked like Rogers may have carried too much speed and got himself stuck in those barrels. Unfortunate for him, having to take the tow truck, as everybody else coming down for the tires except for Lassard, Cabri, and Gralla so far.
Yeah, Tim, what we normally see here is cars getting sideways hard onto the brakes. You're going to get down to pit speed here of just 35 miles an hour. But I think Rogers was actually too timid with that, just did not slow down. The car wouldn't turn, and he ended up at the barrels. That's something else that we saw on Tuesday in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, is side-by-side on track on the inside. Alex Labay, I believe, trying to make his way through. And there is Rafael Lassard giving up the race lead. But we saw the likes of Bobby Zelensky, the points leader in that series, defending champion Zach Novak, the best sim racers in the world, mess up on pit road. And it was a matter of time until it happened tonight.
And Cabre missed pit road.
The four car entirely.
Oh, that's huge.
So he's going to go all the way around, Tim. At least he avoided the barrels, but that's going to basically throw this race away for Chase Cabre, and that's an experienced iRacer.
Yeah, you just mentioned the benefit of coming down and being a little more aggressive coming onto pit road instead of being timid. But if you are aggressive and you do miss your line onto pit road like Chase just did, you have to come down again. You lose a ton of time, and Chase cannot afford this if this race does go green to the end with no caution to help him catch up. Here comes the 29 of Kaz Gralla to the inside of Stephen Light. Kaz Gralla is your leader, and you looked on the side there, he last pitted on lap 22. Everybody else has been down on pit road, so Gralla all by himself, and he's going to stay out on the racetrack for one more lap. He'll complete 88 on the speedway.
And for a moment in time, as he passes Chase Cabre, who is on the pit lane for service, Kaz Gralla right now is the only car on the lead lap at Dover International Speedway. So that hot scream, the spicy ice cream, Chevy Camaro's getting the TV time out in front. Kaz started 7th in this race, but kind of before all of this pit strategy kicked off, he actually found himself more so back in traffic. And the car that you're looking at now is Alex Labay, who is the net lead car. And in fact, no surprise, we talked about the undercut Justin. He got the fresh tires sooner. He pitted 11 laps ago, whereas Alfredo in third pitted only 5 ago. So that's how Alex Labay has leapfrogged those cars and has become the net race leader. His advantage over Alfredo, about 4 seconds. Again, right now, that's for second and third, but that will become the battle for the lead once we see Kaz Gralla pit, who has been out there, by the way, for 70 laps.
Yeah, but here's the thing for Labay. He's losing about 2 tenths of a second, you would rather say, to Alfredo alone each and every time. So eventually he'll have to play defense. While if you're in the case of Kaz Gralla, you are hoping for a caution flag, because at the moment, you see the left side pylon, everybody else has pinned the lap down. And with how many laps a lot of these cars have turned, Devin, that might be huge in terms of coming away with massive track position he didn't have before this.
And of course, he's hoping by that short pit that he gets the track position. He knows he's going to be at a tire disadvantage, and then is hoping that Alfredo kind of burns up his equipment as he chases him down. So you can watch those two battle for second and third. But yeah, I think that's kind of the idea for Kaz right here, Tim, is if you get a yellow, you are sitting real nice and pretty. Because he is literally the only car on the lead lap of the 16 that are still in this race. When he pits, we'll probably go back to about 10 or 11 on the lead lap, but Kaz Gralla getting some lap lead up front.
And just a note, Donnie Leah sped on pit road exit. He had to come back down and serve a black flag penalty. So he was so dominant early. He's now trapped 3 laps down and will be 2 laps down once this cycles on through, as Alex Labay passes the Kaz Gralla machine, unlaps himself. Here comes that 07 of Donnie Leah. Will get one of his laps back, but man, what a tough break for Donnie Leah. Was so strong earlier as Kaz Gralla nearly hits that wall off turn 4.
Yeah, self-inflicted error for Donnie Leah there, who is going to unfortunately take himself out of this and probably be tracked at least a lap down. Who was one of the best cars all night, seemed pretty untouchable for the most part out in front. Of course, winning in the heat race earlier on. It started on pole for heat race 2, finished third, but of course did real good in this one. And unfortunately, his night basically comes to a close like this. And we talked about the concern of tires as Alex Labay just unlapped himself. So did the Alfredo. So they are now technically no longer a lap down, and that's why you'll see a time for them. But Cascarella is going to be lucky if his tires hang on because he is way, way deep into a run. Again, the tires need changed before you need more fuel.
Yeah, can only go maybe 10 more laps at that, and he's got to be careful to not pop the right front tire. A couple drivers did that on Tuesday, and the way we're seeing him go way up the racetrack is kind of signs that that right front is getting very worn, around 20% tire wear, which is around that point where you have to really back up the corner just to hold on to the bottom of the racetrack, and you're holding on for dear life to make sure you don't slide up to the top of the bank and into the wall.
So how long does he wait before he maybe oversteps it too much? Because again, he's staying out because he stands to benefit hugely by a yellow. The only caveat being he cannot be the yellow if a tire goes down.
You've got to manage that. You've got to make sure that, I mean, you have the bed that you're laid in right now for pit strategy. You have to stay out as long as you can. Either run it to the empty on fuel or run it just to the cord start showing on that tire, but you really have to manage it right now. 27 laps to go. I don't think you're going to the end, so you got to hang on at least until maybe Alex Labay catches you again for 15 seconds on back. It's really hard right now, but Cascarella, if you're in that driver's seat, Evan, you're the leader. You don't want to give up the lead, right? You've already have this pit strategy that you've played out. You don't want to give up the lead if you don't have to, right?
Yeah, and that's why he is going to literally push this thing, I think, to its limits. We are working lap number 99, and he last pitted at lap number 22. So he is way deep into this as Truex dips the left side tires to the apron, and they almost got into each other as Truex from P9 was unlapping himself. There's also a little bit of a battle between Landon Huffman and Brett Moffitt. Talked about Moffitt being on a tire advantage that last run. He is also on a little bit of an advantage chasing down Huffman. They pitted on the same lap, but he's been reeling in that 75 car in a battle for 4th and 5th as there it is. Cascarella could push it no further. It is a clean pit road entry. He will give up the race lead, and that'll hand the keys of the kingdom back over to Alex Labay in the number 90, who cycles back to the point this time at 24 laps to go.
And Grell was definitely banking on there be a caution flag, of course, because with the various different drivers on different tire cycles, Evan, there was the chance, some drivers thought about this for the eNASCAR race too, you could have incidents pop up from the various different paces on the track. Didn't work out his way, but now Labay, the focus becomes, can he hold on? Is there enough time for Alfredo as well to reel him in, who is now only 1.3 seconds back?
Yeah, when we first mentioned that they were going to be the battle for the net race lead, as here's the fight with Lessard on Moffitt. So Raphael's gotten to Brett before he could get up on Huffman in the battle that I thought was going to happen first. It's not going to be for 3rd. They'll do it for 4th and 5th position. He's all over him. That time in 3. I think Lessard keen on making this pass happen sooner rather than later. Looking to the inside. Brett Moffitt going to leave the inside open in that Plan B sales entry, and you move that entry on through for Lessard. But Tim, back to that conversation about those top runners when they had blended back out, and again, Labay had got the tire sooner. He had opened up about a 4-second advantage over Alfredo. This time by the margin between 1st and 2nd, 1 second flat. Alfredo consistently about a 1/10 of a second faster every time by. If he can keep that up, he will catch Alex Labay before the clock runs out.
And you look back behind him, Landon Huffman is turning 7s as well, so he's in about the same area that Anthony Alfredo is going to have to deal with some lap traffic there. He goes to the inside, but the 2nd and 3rd place drivers essentially turning about the same lap times. Landon Huffman just a slight bit quicker than Anthony Alfredo that last time by the stripe, so he's got a little bit of an advantage by about 2 seconds back to Landon Huffman. Alex Labay, he's reeling in right now, so I like what Anthony Alfredo is doing. I kind of like the way this race is playing out if I'm the 33 team. This race is far from over. 20 laps, making 19 laps to go. There's a lot that can happen here at Dover. You're still trying to navigate some lap traffic. You're still trying to piece your way through and also manage your race to not burn up your tires in the final 20 laps of this one. But Anthony Alfredo is coming.
He is, and that's the onboard shot with him. Top of your screen to bottom right is the offer bumper with Alex Labay. As he continues to lap it around, you can hear him slide at the tires as he drives it in hard on entry. You got to be careful and center of the corner. He also had to do it 3/4 of the way through just because of how tight these quarter exits are coming up and out of the banking.
And remember, these drivers as well on a 6-lap difference on the tires. LeBay with the older set as mentioned. Some of the other cars in these battles, such as for 3rd and 4th, they're on the same tire cycle as Alfredo. And the more they fight, the more time they're going to lose to the 33. So they have to sort themselves out if they want to try and reel in Alfredo and LeBay. Otherwise, they'll be watching at the edge of victory lane as one of those two celebrate.
And that was Lassard who was slideways in turn number 3, giving it everything he had to stay on the back bumper of Landon Huffman in the battle for 3rd and 4th, but unable to do so. We'll drop back a bit. You see 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. This, though, is the battle for the race lead. And Alex LeBay, Tim, didn't have much choice. He was the top 5 car or so, but he needed this strategy to go for the undercut. It's not like he's going to lose anything if he can't get the win. This was a move made to give him an opportunity to win this race. But Anthony Alfredo has got a whole host of laps, 15 laps to go to get the job done, and he is now there. The difference, a car length and a half.
Reeling him in for the lead is Anthony Alfredo, and yeah, I agree. You look at Alex LeBay trying to win this race on a little bit of strategy, and so far so good. He's still got to get past as Anthony Alfredo. Alfredo might have the faster race car, but you still need to make that move past the number 9. He's got plenty of laps to do it here, though. They'll come by this time and have 13 laps to go, 112 completed. Alex LeBay looks to lead this lap, but look at the run that Alfredo gets at a corner number 4 and gets into the wall a little bit off at turn number 4. That's not going to help the effort, but still keeps going straight. LeBay lets him have that inside line.
Yeah, that's not a hard hit, but it is not something that Anthony Alfredo wants. Now it's LeBay who gets sideways into turn 2 as they are both driving these race cars to the absolute limit. And, well, yes, Sinandi's a little bit up and off at the bottom. Don't expect him to just pull over and give Anthony Alfredo this spot. He is going to make him work, but he overdrove one. The inside's open. Here comes Alfredo, side by side between Anthony Alfredo and Alex LeBay. Runs for the Nani on the outside, but here comes the 33, and he's done it. Coming to 11 laps to go. New race leader in Saturday Night Thunder. It's Anthony Alfredo. Here comes Alex LeBay trying to counter on the bottom, but I just don't think it's going to stick for the Nani. Let's see. Pull up alongside him, but it's just way too tight, and he had to get out of the throttle.
Clip the apron, in fact, and now tap the safer barrier, in fact. If you're LeBay, have to take a deep breath. These older tires, if he has a mistake from Alfredo, might have another shot, but 10 to go to decide it.
You're pretty clear that that little bit of contact with the outside wall by Anthony Alfredo is not hurting him, so he's going to be okay. When it goes on by for the top spot, Tim, and Justin's exactly right. Anthony got a little bit loose that time off of the corner. The battle for 3rd ensuing still behind these two, as Huffman and Lassard just will not leave each other alone. But that battle for 3rd is about 2 seconds back. So if I'm LeBay, don't overdrive it. See if Anthony Alfredo makes a mistake. Worst case scenario, if you don't tear up your equipment, finish P2. But if you continue to overdrive it like he did there in turn 2, then you may be falling back into the clutches of those two behind him.
You know, keeping an eye on this battle. Oh, there's the send on the 75 of Landon Huffman. Raphael Lassard, I was about to say he did everything but move him in the last 10 laps, but Raphael Lassard lays a bumper to him up to position number 3. And look at the battle for the lead. Here comes LeBay.
And LeBay is going to come back on it around through. He passes Anthony Alfredo. So it was a near miss with Landon Huffman, who a big save means that this race could stay green. If those two wrecked, you probably would have seen a yellow, but we are not done up front now because LeBay took it back from Alfredo. It was a mistake by the 33, Tim, at turn 4. Here he comes back down the bottom, though. Anthony Alfredo wants it from LeBay. He's got the advantage to turn 3. The Nani car not going to go away. Anthony Alfredo bobbled and collects it back up. He's your leader this time. 6 laps to go.
And it was a mistake before that allowed LeBay back in front. But again, those pressure tires popping up 4/10 quicker. Last time by LeBay with a big bobble off turn 2.
He's driving real hard, and even up in front of him, Alfredo got right up against the outside wall and nearly wrecked that race car as well. Lap traffic hopefully not going to be a factor. The race leaders have about a half a straight till they see the next lapped car. It would be Jeb Burton, then Donnie Leah. Those drivers, I'm sure, could be asking their spotters to let them know to get way out of the way as Alfredo starts to pull a bit of an advantage.
And you see back there to position number 3, Rafael Lessard, a tenth to a tenth and a half quicker, had that move and made it a little bit late, I think, Evan. He's going to run out of time to catch these drivers in front of him, but he's definitely one of the faster cars in the top 3. Anthony Alfredo, though, now pacing himself and pulling away from Alex Labay. And if Labay can pace himself, he'll likely come home with position number 2. But Rafael Lessard driving the wheels off that number 4 car coming down to the final few laps. Here's Brett Moffitt now with Landon Huffman. Huffman had that slide, and Brett Moffitt trying to take position number 5.
Yeah, there's nothing that Landon Huffman can do late in this race to get away. He just had that contact with Lessard, and now it's Brett Moffitt on his bumper in a battle for P5 and 6. This all going on. You can see the left-hand side of your screen, about 3 seconds and change off of that battle for the race lead. This time by, though, going to be Popsicle 6 in the air as Anthony Alfredo sees 2 laps to go.
Many of these drivers are going to be happy with some of their performances. It's a question of what if for some of the others. But Anthony Alfredo been quick all day long and all night long, Evan. Now just about a lap away, about a mile away from victory.
Talked about driving in these Xfinity Series cars as Alfredo comes up to take the white flag presented by iRacing. He made his Xfinity Series debut earlier this season in Fontana, and he is going to represent well here tonight in the virtual world. The final time down the back straightaway for the driver out of the RCR stable, Anthony Alfredo. Oh, so good on the long run. He'll come out of the final corner a little bit sideways, and Alfredo wins Saturday Night Thunder at the Monster Mile.
And at the end of that one, Rafael Lessard and Chase Cabry were both coming, storming up to the front of the field, but Lessard has to settle for position number 3, just a couple of tenths behind Alex Labay. And Cabry and Huffman as well, putting on a show at the end, coming home with top 5 efforts, but congratulations to Anthony Alfredo as we take a look at the replay of what a battle these guys had up front.
Now watch the wheel. Look at that all the way. That's 90 degrees to the right coming out of turn number 4 on the final lap. Just about threw it away. But now the wheel's locked to the right, the good kind, because he's celebrating on the front straightaway. The burnouts for Anthony Alfredo is your race winner in tonight's Saturday Night Thunder 125 from Dover. Let's take a look at our iRacing.com full race results tonight, as it is the driver out of Ridgefield, Connecticut, who ends up on top. Alfredo holds off Alex Labay. That late race pass once, twice, and 3 times as those two exchange that lead position several times late. Labay finishes a second back into P2 as Lessard closed in for a P3 result. Chase Cabry and Landon Huffman round out your top 5 with Brett Moffitt there in P6, Ruben Garcia and Ryan Truex quiet in 7th and 8th, with the final drivers to finish on the lead lap with Kaz Gralla in 9th and Donnie Leah P10.
Jeb Burton 2 laps down in 11th position tonight. Sam Mayer 3 laps down in 12th position. Then Will Rogers, Chase Briscoe, Stephen Light. Then Tommy Joe Martins round out the top 16. Derek Krause quietly in 17th. Bailey Curry in 18th. Ty Majeski, a DNF in 19th after being involved with the big one in the back, with Christian Eckes rounding out the top 20.
And then these drivers had some tough luck at the back of the field. Noah Gregson, Josh Berry, Drew Herring, Todd Gilliland, Tyler Ankrum, and Ryan Vargas complete your field. And Evan, those drivers had some tough luck early, but they were names that were fighting up front early during those heat races in the last chance qualifiers.
Yeah, in fact, only about 6 drivers who started inside of the top 10 finished there. There were a lot of big movers through this race as well. One of the names that was up front all night was Anthony Alfredo, but at the end of the night, he puts his number 33 Chevrolet in victory lane. Let's talk with the driver of that 33 on the radio now, as it is Anthony Alfredo, Saturday Night Thunder winner from Dover. How's that sound to you?
It sounds amazing. If you were looking at my Twitch stream right now, fast_pos is the name. I'm sweating so bad I'm about to break open Stewed Wipe and wipe the sweat off my face. I'm sweating as much as I do in the 140-degree race car, but that was unreal, man. I've had Jimmy Mullis and Zach Novak from the Coke series helping me out. I've learned so much more about iRacing from them. And it's so cool that NASCAR and iRacing have put these events on for us drivers to have fun and even learn some things from when we go back racing, and more importantly, to keep our fans entertained. Esports is so important to me, so to see these events is cool, and to win one is definitely huge, man. It felt like real life to me as far as the meaning of it and how hard it was and the intensity, the emotion. So that was cool. And the most important thing is having Wally Yoakum's name on this race car and having it painted just like the aircraft he piloted, and the military. I'm thankful for all our veterans, especially him. I'm so proud to park it in Victory Lane for him and his family. And everyone at Rich Childress Racing, all our partners, and just trying to have a good time and get some great exposure while we're not at the racetrack. But we'll be back soon, and this is definitely pretty crazy. It feels awesome, and I hope I sound better, because someone told me I had my webcam mic on before, so I probably sounded horrible in that mid-race interview.
We were talking when we chatted with you mid-race, of course, that it was going to come down to the long run, and we did see a very long stretch to the end of this race. LeBay goes for the undercut, and he pitted about 6 laps earlier than you did, and of course, by staying out, you gave up some track position after the stops, but you were able to chase him down, eventually make the move, and at that point, we're kind of thinking, all right, that's it. And then he gets back around you, and you guys kind of went back and forth a few times. Just tell us about that strategy decision and, of course, the battle with the 90 to the end.
That's a great question. Obviously, running it out as long as we could was important, especially if we were to catch a caution and be the leaders. I knew long run was my strength, and that 5 to 10 lap window of better tire is a tremendous difference here. And I also feel like, as I mentioned the mid-race interviews, long run was my strength. So I knew even if I pitted close to him, I felt like I was going to be really great on the long run, and it definitely paid off. I just kind of ran my pace, tried to manage out back without wearing them out too early, so I had something at the end, because they do balance off when you run that many laps. As you saw, I had arguably my biggest choke in iRacing when I almost lost it off of 4, and this thing got so loose. iRacing did a great job with the setup. It was a lot of fun to drive, and it did some things I definitely didn't expect, because I would have never ran that long in practice. So that's what happened there, and thankfully I had enough laps to make up for it, and smooth sailing from there. I just had to calm down and gather myself back together, get my mind right, and we were able to get it done. So I'm so proud, just because, like I said, I've worked really hard for this, put a lot of time in. Jimmy and Zach have helped me a ton, and we were so close at Talladega last week. And to be honest with you, we've been close to winning a lot of them. We've been up front every time, so it's very rewarding to finally get one of these.
And just keeping it exciting all the way down to the final quarter. So I'll tell you what, we'll let you get back to the stream. Say hi to everybody for us. And Anthony, we appreciate the time here chatting. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I hope everyone had a great time watching at home.
The race winner tonight from the virtual Dover International Speedway, it is Anthony Alfredo Fast Pasta in Victory Lane in this Saturday Night Thunder 125. The other half, though, Tim Terry, of that battle at the end was Alex LeBay, who's P2 tonight from Dover. You're with him.
Yeah, catching up with Alex LeBay. And Alex, the battle looked intense from up here. How intense was it from the race car at the end, battling with Anthony Alfredo for that win?
It was pretty intense. Just tried a little different strategy, put tires a little earlier than everybody. We had pretty good track position, but just faded a little bit there at the end. But it was fun. Yeah, clean, hard, good hard racing. It was a lot of fun winning 20 there at the end.
He got underneath you, made the pass, and then you got back underneath him, tried to hold him off at the end, but once he got by, it looked like Rafael Lassard was closing in at the end. Did you look in the rearview mirror and see that 4 coming up?
Yeah, I was seeing the gap getting closed, but I mean, I fought with Anthony for a couple laps. That's where I think he got to us like quicker. Then in the last 5 or 6 laps, he was definitely a lot better than us too. I don't know, just like I said, I short pitted a little bit and just didn't have enough tires there left at the end. But it was fun. We just tried to gamble a little bit. We knew he was going to stay green, but didn't really test the tires duration before, but I think it was a good call. Maybe I was just a little too rough on my tires, didn't really figure it out how to save as much as I would have wanted to, but it was still a good run. We'll take it.
I was going to say, with the no reset here tonight and running it to the end, did you anticipate that thing to go green as long? And with the tire strategy, obviously playing into a little bit, how much were you going back and forth with the virtual crew chief coming down pit road?
Yeah, I just wanted to split really the last stint and a half. That's pretty much what we did there. I think so. I didn't really look back at the last, but I'm pretty sure that's what we did. But yeah, I expected guys to pit it a little earlier than that. But I mean, their strategy worked out too because they had the fresher tires there at the end. I tried to ride it a little bit when I was in the lead, and when I was technically in the lead, I got back on the track and tried to stay that right front as much as I could, but I got really, really loose on the long run. I was pretty surprised because usually we always get tight here, but no, it was fun. Just good, and whenever we can end a race like that to contend for a win and race hard for a win, it's always a pleasure.
Now, when we get back to real racing, I know you've been doing some NASCAR Xfinity stuff. Where are we going to see you behind the wheel? Are we going to see you doing some Xfinity stuff? Back with the NASCAR Pinty Series. What's your plans?
We're planning on coming back. We started the first 4 in Xfinity. We're at a pretty good start of the season, so we're just trying to keep going on that in this direction. We're planning on being in Darlington and Charlotte in the 90 car. So that's a plan for the next month.
Well, congratulations, and hope to see you back here on the iRacing service soon.
Thanks, man.
That's Alex LeBay coming home with position number 2, and Justin Prince. I believe you've caught up with our third-place finisher, the driver of the 4 tonight, Raphael Lessard.
Yes, indeed, joins us here in the broadcast booth. And Raphael, a crazy battle and a crazy race for you. How would you describe all the action across this race tonight, especially that final stint of the race, battling back and forth with drivers like Cabri and Huffman to the checkered?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Man, it's awesome to race with those guys. First time with those guys. And I'm sorry. I want to say sorry to the 75 at the end. I got into him. And he did a nice save, but just wasn't my attention. And congrats to Anthony. He did an awesome job. I should have pitted at the same time as he did, but I pitted a little bit after him, and it put me a little bit too far behind. But we had an awesome run thanks to Kyle Busch Motorsport, Toyota, and Mobile One on the race car to this.
I was going to ask about the strategy today. How difficult was it to try and conserve the tires here at Dover during these long runs, though, to try and put yourself in the best position to have the strategy window open enough to come whenever you wanted to come?
Yeah, it was very hard, but I mean, I was able to start pretty close to the front, and it was easier to save my tire from there because I was running top 3 for most of the race. But at the end when we pitted, I think we should have pitted a little bit earlier because I pushed so hard the last couple laps after we pitted to get those positions, and I think at the end I just ran out of tire just pushing too hard.
Indeed, as well. Of course, lots of action throughout these past few weeks. Real world racing coming up soon. Where will we see you on the track in the near future?
Charlotte Motor Speedway, May 26th in the Truck Series, back in action with Kyle Busch Motorsport. I can't wait. It's been a while, and I'm just so pumped to get back in the race car, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Anyone you want to thank real quick before we let you go?
Yeah, everyone back at home and in Quebec, and everyone watching, my family and Toyota, Canuck, and all my friends back at home. I'm pretty far from the family right now, and I hope everyone is staying safe in those tough times.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the top 3 tonight.
Thank you.
Raphael Lessard coming home with 3rd tonight. Evan, back over to you.
Well, big thanks to our top finishers, as always, for jumping on the radio with us and getting to talk to them as 3 drivers from across the ranks of NASCAR with Alfredo, LeBay, and Lessard, 1, 2, and 3. And, of course, we mentioned off at the very top, Justin, I'll go back to you for this one, that this was the start of your virtual race weekend because the NASCAR Cup Series stars going to do it all over again in the Pro Invitational Series tomorrow afternoon. But a great show for the drivers competing tonight.
Yeah, they put on an absolutely great show. Only a couple caution flags tonight. Lots of strategy coming into play, especially with that long green flag run to come to the end of tonight's action. It was a very entertaining race, I think, overall, Evan. I'm very intrigued to see what happens tomorrow when it comes to the Pro Invitational, to see how that race plays out for many of the Cup guys.
And of course, that Cup race, Tim, going to be a bit different from the format we saw here tonight. 150 laps tomorrow afternoon, but it is the same Miles the Monster as those Cup Series cars going to be on track to close out what has been a great week of Dover racing across the iRacing.
Yeah, it's been exciting. We started out with that eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. All the iRacers have been on the A, B, and C class cars for NASCAR on the service this week. So I'm sure they're going to hook up the wheel and do some racing here this evening. If you haven't already, check it out on the iRacing sim. But yeah, tomorrow is going to be exciting to see those Cup guys get up on the wheel. They've got a show to live up to after tonight. Lots of green flag racing. Congratulations to Anthony Alfredo, Alex Labbe. Rafael Lessard, Chase Cabre were coming at the end, just ran out of time. Great race, great strategy. Sets the table up well for tomorrow.
And until next time, that is round 4 of Saturday Night Thunder that falls into our rear view mirror. I want to thank all of you on behalf of our entire team behind the scenes, for Alex Horn, Drew Adamson, Jay Kennedy, Mike Taylor, Tim Burns, our producer Cisco Scaramuza, and for your broadcast team tonight. For Tim Terry, Justin Prince, and myself, Evan Pasoko, thanks for joining us for eNASCAR Saturday Night Thunder. And congratulations to your race winner, Anthony Alfredo. You can catch the next round of the 2020 eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series tomorrow afternoon. It is a 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time start on Fox FS1 and the Fox Sports app for the eNASCAR finish line 150. Enjoy the show tomorrow, and until next time, we'll catch you here on the iRacing Esports Network. Good night.